Hey guys, welcome back to Nate and Greg's World. Today we are talking with a good friend of ours about understanding black culture. And our friend today that is in the studio came all the way from, I want to say, where was it again? Brampton, there we go, is Deborah Ferdinand. We met Deborah at a podcasting 101 type class there. And it was interesting because when we started talking, we're asked, okay, can you explain what this podcast is about? And so we started explaining, like we're looking to do diversity through education. And we brought up a couple of examples, and we were basically told, no, that's not a thing, that's not a brand and all this good stuff. And Deborah was the first one to stand up and go, y'all need to shut up. These white boys have something right here. So thank you very much, Deborah, for joining us today to help us, two dumb white boys, figure out black culture.
Hang on a second. What he's not telling you is I walked in...
Sorry, just bring the mic just a little closer. There you go.
What he's not telling you is I walked in late for the event, and I saw them both sitting there, and the initial was, oops, okay.
Am I in the right place?
Exactly. Am I in the right place? And then I realized, hey, as I've told them before, I've sat at campfires with you guys. I've written on the back of bikes of guys like you. You are familiar with me, and this is what made the connection as well, that it's the diversity, realizing that you really can't judge someone, and you two guys on any given day look scary, but it's not until you know who you are or the culture that you've come from that you realize, hey, they're just human as well. So I'm big on you.
But your first thought is that you were in the wrong room. And that you walked into some kind of like rehabilitation for people just coming out of prison. That's what you thought right away.
The initial thought was, what the? Okay. And then, but I got to tell you, just the look on your face and the smile, I knew that, okay, we're cool. And then when you said what you had to do, I said, oh my God, this is perfect. These are the two gentlemen who can really talk about diversity just because of your appearances.
Yeah.
You break that stereotype down immediately. And that's the beauty about what you have to offer.
Perfect. Well, we thank you for that. And that ends our podcast for today, because that's all we really need to talk about.
That's right. And on a high note here.
Yeah. Greg.
So folks, do us a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like down below and the bell icon so you can stay notified on all the stuff that we put out. And make sure you follow us on our other platforms there. And just in case you can't be bothered to sit around and watch us for an hour and a half, however long these long podcasts are, you can find us on Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts, and just listen to the audio version. We like that too. But tell your friends about us and get in here. So, yes, Deborah, we've gone and we've had a lot of conversations, even just right before we started taping here, and we're finding out more and more about you. But to help our listeners and our watchers understand a bit more about you, let's tell us a bit about yourself. Like, where did you come from? Like, were you born here in Canada? Did you immigrate in? Like, what's going on?
I was born in Trinidad.
Okay.
I left in April 2nd, 1967. We got on a flight. My mother, my siblings, 3 of them, were all 12 months apart, all named with a D. Mm-hmm. My father was here from the year before. And the thing I remember the most was that we were delayed in Toronto to get to Montreal, so they had to put us on the business class flight and separate us. And I had to sit next to a gentleman. And to this day, 60 years, well, it'll be a little less than 60 years later, I remember the gentleman took my hand and he put some change in it. And he said, this is for you, and I hope you have a good life. Welcome to Canada.
Wow.
In 67?
Yes, this was my very first experience as a young black child leaving a predominantly black country, getting somewhere where things like sliding doors freaked me out. All the white people freaked me out. Yeah. Like, I mean, there was just like white people.
We were everywhere.
Yeah. And anybody black was a porter.
Okay.
So that was a little bit confusing to me as well, because growing up, we saw black people working in the bank, doing this. all those things. But here I was only seeing black people as porters. So that was my very first experience. We moved to an area in Montreal, a street called Park Avenue, where all immigrants came to. So
Right.
we were around Italians, Greeks. At that time, we had no one really from the Middle East or from India or Pakistan. So it was mostly Greek and Italians. And that's where I grew up. And the usual, you kids, you get called all sorts of end names and this
Yeah.
and that. And then our hair was different. Our
Right.
features were different. So I grew up being called nigger lips all my
Okay.
life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, until they all found out collagen and started injecting their own lips.
Now, would that be cultural appropriation? I'm just wondering.
Bingo, it's
Okay.
on my list, along with
Perfect.
Bo Derek's braids in
Yeah.
10. It's like,
Yeah.
so these are the things that I observed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so I came to Canada 67, and my parents were teachers. They came with a big influx. Canada was asking teachers from the British Commonwealth to come.
Right.
So I grew up upper middle class. It was a very nice life, but it was a life that a lot of people would be jealous of.
Okay.
How so?
Well, white people don't think you should be at that level.
Right.
You shouldn't be owning a house. You shouldn't be owning a car. Your children shouldn't be dressed so well. Your children should not be so well spoken. All those things. It just
Yeah.
irked a lot of people.
Really?
It
Yeah.
really, really irked them. Years later, I hear from friends who said that when our family walked into church, everyone, and we used to wonder why are they all staring at us? Because
Yeah.
when you're yourself, you're going like, why is somebody staring at me? So years later, friends told me that it's because when our family walked in, we walked in as a family, and we were all well dressed, and then somebody said, and you were all gorgeous. So you go like,
Yeah.
So what,
It's
the
confusing.
alternative, they expect you to come in rags? And
Yeah.
that's been my life.
Really?
I
Right.
didn't. Oh, you surprised me. Oh, that's surprising. Oh, I didn't expect that of you. Or as I'm speaking now, I'll meet someone and I've heard, oh, I didn't know you were black.
Yeah.
Well, you sounded white on the phone.
oh, so,
Or why do you speak so well?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
usually tell people I grew up with 2 educators in a home that if you didn't get a university education, you were out on your butt. So,
right,
Yeah.
right. So
Right.
you experienced like a lot of racism like when you were younger, growing up. There
and
you were?
and it wasn't even subtle when I was small. I mean, you're talking about. I remember these are stories actually people are telling me of things that I did because I'm myself and I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I was coaching a soccer team. I'd always been a level 2 CFA soccer coach. And I faced a lot of racism there because I was dealing with a lot of British and Scottish men. And I was
Yeah.
the only woman and the only black person
Right.
to get that level of coaching. And you're talking about kicks and punches from grown men
Yeah.
as you're practicing. So one day I'm out on the field with some kids, and some little boys come around, and they started taunting me.
Yeah.
Nigger, nigger, nigger.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine told me, and I don't remember this, but I kind of, that I grabbed the 2 boys by their arms, asked them where they lived, and took them to their front door, rang the
really?
doorbell,
Oh, man.
and told their mother what they did.
Oh, wow.
What was the mother's reaction? What did they?
She just hauled them into the house from what I remembered and said she was sorry.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with all that, but I fought it.
Yeah.
But there became a time where I couldn't fight it anymore because it was humiliating. When you walk onto the school bus
Right.
and one of the guys starts yelling, nigger, 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 when
Yeah.
you walk onto the school bus. Bus driver's not saying anything.
Yeah.
Nobody's not standing up for you. You have to walk all the way to the back of the bus or wherever the next seat is, feeling humiliated.
Right.
Is that the feeling, humiliation? Like, is there, what else goes along with that? Like anger? Like, help us understand, like, because obviously we've never had to deal with that type of racism, right? Like,
Well,
what is-
definitely not to that level, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
No, no. Like, what goes on inside you when that's happening as a child?
A lot of fear. Anger comes actually after, but
Yeah.
there's the humiliation, and there's the fear, and there's the desire to hold back the tears.
Right.
To just really and I think it's from all those things that I have become composed, that very little shakes me now. I know to take a breath, analyze it, and give a logical answer or comeback versus just being how I was. And you had no one to speak to. God forbid I'd speak to my father about it. He'd
Yeah.
be down there at the school with a bat.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I had some girlfriends who eventually stood up for me when they realized that it's not right. But that was my upbringing because of where we lived. Predominantly white neighborhood, affluent, and you weren't welcome there.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You were not welcome there.
Yeah.
And so you had to deal with that. And education for us was super important in our home. It was always said, this is your way to get above it all.
Right.
Get an education. And so we solely focused on that and sports.
Yeah.
And I think it's sports is what kept some of the racism at bay, because there were four of us. We were really very, very proficient at what we did in the various sports that we played.
Right.
So I think that kept a lot at bay because we ended up getting a following.
Right.
You know, they're doing track
Yeah.
and field, they're doing soccer, and we were always in the local newspaper, so it developed a following, but at the same time, it developed a lot of jealousy in adults,
Yeah.
and that floated down to their children.
Yeah.
So then we would get onto the field, and you'd get nigger, this, and as I mentioned to you before, the weight class with my brother. He was bantam, and they put in a weight class because the parents were complaining that he was bigger and better than the other kids.
Yeah.
So he had to be to get in, you had to be a certain weight. So my parents would water pills, tie him up with plastic bags, jog him every night. He'd make the weigh in and then gain the weight back.
Yeah.
So you see, you try to put things like that. Why would you stop a child from succeeding?
Right.
He ended up being a professional football player at the end of it all. But they could have stopped it there. And he
Right.
could not have gotten further if my parents weren't smart enough to say, hey, you're not going to stop my kid.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what we're
So
doing.
you had those strong parents.
Yeah.
Which
Yes.
was, yeah.
And as you said, schooling was like really, really important in your family. And so like, how far did you go? Like, was it college, university? Like, where'd you go?
I ended up with 2 university degrees, probably because I didn't want to work. If I could still be a student, I
Professional
would.
student.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of those in our family, actually, a
Right,
lot of
right.
professional students. And even at school, I think the first year of college, there were a lot of international students, and that's actually the very first time I felt comfortable in a schooling environment.
Right.
Because my elementary schooling was with nuns, and that was a lot of corporal punishment. They was doled out on a regular basis, and God
a
forbid you
nightmare.
were black, you got
Yeah.
extra corporal punishment.
Right.
And I had a West Indian accent at 6 and 7 years old, so it was even more so. You would
Wow.
be told that you're not speaking properly.
Right.
Yeah, so those things were kind of beaten into you. And when I got to college, it was like, oh my God, they're from all over the world here.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I really felt comfortable, and I did not feel that a teacher was picking on me or anything, or I stood out. I was able to sit in a class and not be the one standing out. Because up until, actually still to this day, I'm usually one of the few black people walking in somewhere. I'm always amazed. Yacht
Yeah.
clubs.
Yeah.
They stare at me. What's she doing at the yacht club? What's she doing here? Is she
Yeah.
to help? No.
Yeah.
No, I have friends who have
No.
to go
I got
here.
white boys that take care of that shit for me.
Bingo.
Yeah, that's right.
You got that right. Exactly.
Wow. So yeah, you've gotten all this amazing schooling, but now you also have a pretty amazing career, from what I understand. You're in marketing.
Yep.
Like that's kind of the sister or brother relationship that we have between the career that I'm looking for, which is in public relations. You're selling the product, I'm selling an idea.
Exactly.
And stuff like this. And from what I understand, you're doing pretty well in that.
I'm very happy with what I'm doing. Again, it comes back to everyone saying you speak so well. Why are you so educated? Why? How do you start that question off? Why
Yeah.
are you so? Well, let me see. I woke up one day, decided that black people should get an education as well. Like,
Yeah.
really, what do you think? What a stupid question.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
are you so educated? So all those things came into play, and then I said, you know what? I've got a lot to offer. I spend time correcting people's writing, their speech, etc. Let me get into that. But it was still a scary field, as self-confident as I am, because are you going to trust me with your marketing? And,
Yeah.
And I think it's not until I came to Ontario and I saw how easy and comfortable blacks were into moving into starting their own business, that I had that confidence. I would not have had that in Quebec. That's
Right.
just
Right.
not the milieu to do that for
Right.
some oddball reason. But I found it comfortable here. And as I mentioned to you before, when I started this business, I went to one of my mentors, who was a white woman, and asked her about my hair.
Yeah.
I said, I'm thinking of going back with my hair natural. This is how it is now. What do you think? How do you think people are going to accept me? As I mentioned to you before, she slapped me upside the head and said, are you crazy? It's
Yeah.
a product you're selling. Yeah, you're selling yourself, but you are you.
Yeah.
You're educated. You have the language and the skills to do it. Go with that.
Right.
And not
So-
worry about the hair.
It's such
Yeah.
a wild idea to think that you have to think. I know, like, we go to work and we all have the expectations that you wear certain clothes, right? Whether it's business casual, business, whatever, right? But to think, like, can I wear my hair like this? Can I do this? Can I do that? Am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be looked at as? But, like, I want to talk about the business stuff, but I want to just take one quick
Yeah.
step back. Like, growing up, do you think, like, you had strong parents, right? Which obviously helps. Very educated, very strong parents. But my question is like, going through what you went through growing up in school, the racism, the tough times, do you think that helped drive you as much as it pulled you back? Or do you think it was
Did
just...
not hold me back at all. That was like jumping out of a starter's block.
Right.
That's, to me, it's a starter's block. I just push myself off and I go from there. I've had to deal with racism, sexism, all of it rolled
Yeah.
into it. And
for sure.
all I do is I just push myself off from there and say, to heck with you. I know who I am, and I'm going to go from there. So
So basically, if I'm reading this right, basically it's a big fuck you. Watch what I can do.
And that's
Exactly.
with so
Yeah.
many people, right? Like, some people take it and it builds a fire in them,
yes,
right? And it's like, I'm going to do this no matter, because you're telling me I can't. That's why I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
And I'm going to show you. Where other people, when they go through that, they turn into like this comatose thing, curled up on a couch.
Yeah.
Everybody's against me. The whole world hates
Yeah.
me. I can't get anywhere because, of my race, my religion, my whatever, right?
those are. I'm going to get killed for this, but those are excuses.
Right.
Yeah.
They are excuses. It's as simple as that. You have to form and forge your own way in life.
Yeah.
Because, you can't say, I'm not the CEO of the company because I'm black. Maybe you're not the CEO of the company because you don't have the skills. Have you thought of that?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you think that you are entitled?
Yeah.
You're not. You have to forge your own way.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you heard, but I think it was last week or something like that at the time of this taping. AOC down in the States there, right? She ended up going saying the whole, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's ridiculous. Nobody can actually pull themselves up by the bootstraps. It's, it's physically impossible and stuff like this. But it's a metaphor, and I have my own personal feelings about her, and like you hear that a lot. People just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, make shit happen for yourself, and stop fucking complaining. Like, would you say that's a fair thing to be saying?
That has saved my life so many times.
Yeah.
About 9 years ago, when I was living in St. Catharines, I just moved from Montreal. I was having a really, really rough time financially, spiritually, mentally, the whole works. I remember pulling off on the Queensway or one of those, and pulled off to the side of the road and started bawling and crying, going, I can't do this. This is impossible. I don't know
Yeah.
how I'm going to do this. My children are back in Montreal. I'm here. I'm broke. I'm trying to start a new life. And I called my mother. You know what she said to me? Pull your socks up and get on with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I stopped crying immediately. I started the car and I went straight to social services and said, I need help.
Yeah.
And that's all it took. But again, I always say that's me, but I truly
Yeah.
believe that we all have that little seed in us. And if you feed that seed of self-esteem and growth and self-confidence, you can get up off
Yeah.
that couch.
Yeah.
You may not be the CEO of a company, but you can do something with your life that is worthwhile, that makes you feel that you've contributed.
For sure.
And that's what hurts me, because when I hear all these, well, I didn't get the job because I was black. Are you sure you didn't get the job because you were black? I mean, I've never every job I've applied for, I got.
Yeah.
Well, then
I don't get it.
Also, the other side is that, you know, are you just jumping to that conclusion, or did you go talk to the uppers at wherever you work? Have you asked them straight out, like, you know, I've applied for this position 3 times, and 3 times I've been denied this position. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what, you know, or even more so, what can I do to improve and prove to you that I can do that position? Because maybe you're just, like you say, you're lacking in something.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe if you have a good boss, and I'm not saying, like, there are some racist bosses out there, 100%.
Yeah, if they came right back out and said, well, you need to be white, well, okay,
Well,
that's a
they're not-
problem.
Yeah.
They're not going to say that, but, well, not nowadays, they're not going to say that, but
Yeah.
hopefully not.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe they are racist, but you're going to have at least an idea of, like, you know, because maybe you'll have one of those bosses that will say, you know what? Here's the thing. You're really strong at doing this, but the reason you can't be management or you're not getting the job is because this, and this.
Yeah.
If you can figure that out,
Then
then you're gonna, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe, you know, like, well, you took 10 sick days last year.
Yeah.
We can't have managers taking 10 sick
Have
days.
you been looking at my record?
No, that's my record.
No, that was my record.
Yeah.
Yesterday I took
Yeah.
a sick day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what makes it really, really difficult because, again, I'm myself. I
Yeah.
know what I have to do. I look at my siblings. My brother just came back from Bucharest. Like I said to him, "Were there any other black people?" And he laughed his head off. He
Yeah.
says, "No, sis, there weren't."
Yeah.
My sister was in Moscow last year on business. And I look at these things happening in my family, my brother's professional career as a football player, my other siblings traveling the world for business. I have a nephew, I think he was in Mumbai last week on business as well. Are they being held back? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're doing things, they're representing companies.
Yeah.
So maybe not overtly racism anymore, but there are a lot of subtle things which we'll get
Yeah.
into. But so it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because I hear from other people, well, I got this and I got that because I was black. They, you know, and you just
Yeah.
it's
Well, and
it's-
I think that's a danger right now of our society because it's in every culture, right? I mean, even, you know, whether you're white, black, Asian, people are looking for the crutch.
yes,
People are looking for the reason why they're not getting ahead, right? They want an excuse. They don't want to hear that maybe they're not working hard enough. Maybe they need to get more education. Maybe they need this. Maybe they don't want to. They don't want to look at that. They don't want to deal with that. It's that no, the world is against me because.
Answer me this question. Why do I hear they're all coming here and taking our jobs? Okay, you want to be a dishwasher? You want to be a taxi driver? You want to be a sanitation engineer? You want to work at McDonald's? You want to work at...
Yeah.
what do you mean they're taking your jobs?
Well, not only that, but if you look at somebody that you know, that drives me nuts too, because when you look at people that immigrate to Canada and they start a successful business and they become successful, and then you have people here saying, or, you know, in America or wherever you're at saying, oh, look, they're coming here, they're fucking taking all our jobs, they're taking everything away. Okay, but if they had the ability to come from a different country and do this, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. And
Maybe you need to look inside you. Why didn't you do that?
Exactly.
What was stopping you? Because I tell you right now, it was a lot harder for them than it would be for you.
Yeah. They're providing jobs, and what a lot of people don't realize, to get into Canada, you've got to be coming in with money.
In a lot of situations.
Yeah, you've got to be coming in with money and proof that you could either start a business or you have money to support your family. Then on the flip side, because of the little bit of extra work that I'm doing, I overheard an argument between a white guy and I guess a guy from India or Pakistan, I'm not sure. And the white guy was yelling at him about something. You're not doing your job right. You're taking up space and all this. And the guy says to him, "Well, screw you. I don't give a shit. I'm just here for immigration to show that I have a job." The guy was
Yeah.
covered in jewelry.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so I could see where I'm not going to say somebody white,
Yeah.
even myself as a
Yeah.
Canadian who's paying taxes,
Yeah.
I can see, for me, I would say, like, what the hell? Really? You're just
Yeah.
here just to say that, to show to immigration that you worked for 3 months or something, and now you're just going to go back home and
Yeah.
apply for, you know,
social assistance or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that side of it too. Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
but you're right. You can't say anything because then you're racist,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then you're part of the problem. Well,
Exactly.
okay. Because like I know refugee families that came with nothing and now they own businesses, right? And they're doing well. And, you know, like I'm like, they work their asses off.
Yeah, they
They
do.
worked 18 hours a day.
You see their kids.
7
you
days a
see their
week.
kids in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to bring their kids in. They're bringing family in, and yeah, because they don't want to live off of us. They came here to make a better life for themselves. They didn't leave their countries
Yeah.
to come here to suffer.
Yeah.
And in most cases, if they're immigrating on their own versus the refugees, they're already coming with money and everything else. Chances are a house back there. But as a refugee, it's a totally different thing. And if they've made a life for themselves, like the guy in Nova Scotia with the chocolates. Yeah, look at that. That's
Yeah.
he's all over the news. That's a really big success story. And he's employing people.
Yeah.
Why can't we be how it was in the 60s where actually Canada was begging for people? That's why we immigrated
Yeah.
here. They were begging for people
Well, and
to
we're
come.
getting to that again. We
Yeah.
don't have enough people to take all the jobs. That's
Yeah.
another thing people don't understand. When the baby boomers are done and gone,
Yeah,
professional wise, we're screwed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the millennials are doing, they're taking on careers that we hope those careers blossom. They're
Yeah.
careers that weren't available for being growing
Yeah.
up. We hope that they blossom, but as with us from the 60s and 70s, we didn't know what was going to happen.
No.
How are they forecasting 40 years from now for everything that they're studying, or 30 years from now what they're going to do? We could find ourselves in a totally green environment where none of this is needed anymore.
Yeah.
So, you
Oh,
know,
they're all too busy fucking crying anyways. they're not getting anywhere.
oh my
Yeah.
Lord, my gosh, yeah, I think they are crying somewhere.
Well, okay, so let's get into this here. The whole understanding black culture. So we got two dumb white boys here that want to understand black culture. We've seen a lot of what is represented by black culture, you know, but what is black culture? Can you explain black culture to us?
I can't, I would more go for black pride initially.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, no matter whether you're African and there, you see, I have my prejudices as well.
Yeah.
You're Nigerian, I might want to think twice about you. You know,
Yeah.
so that's a culture there. The West Indians, the Americans, and the cultures are all based on their life experiences.
Right.
So to sit in a room, let's say, with 3 American black women, 3 Canadian black women, our experiences are very, very different.
Right.
But however, if those 3 Canadian black women, one is a Scotian who was born here and has been 2 or 3 generations here, one is like me who's immigrated here in '67, and one is a newcomer, those are 3, again, different experiences. You have 3 American women, let's say one grew up in New York, one grew up in the South, and one grew up in LA. Again,
3
I won't
very
even
different.
mention Denver anyway. I spent a lot of time in Denver. I don't think I saw anybody black in there other than me. And they were all smiling at me as I walked down the street every day. Hey,
Yeah.
okay. No, I'm telling you the truth. And
Yeah.
I'd be at concerts in Denver, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
nobody else black here.
Was-
It was a Deadhead concert to boot, so that was
wow.
kind of to be
Nice.
expected.
Nice.
You know? So, yeah, so it's all very different.
Yeah.
If you ask men, oh my God, whether they're black Canadian, black American, it doesn't matter, Scotian, West Indian, or whatever, their experiences are essentially going to be the same because
Oh,
they're
really?
black men of how
Okay.
they're
Right.
treated.
Right.
Black women, I find that they think that, as I mentioned to you before, they were quite surprised when I went to fill out saying that I'm going to be giving birth here, and they asked all those questions, and they were very surprised to find out that it's my first and only pregnancy, and that I'm educated as well. The look
Yeah.
on the intake woman's face about that. So there's a lot of different experiences, and I truly believe it boils down to what you believe about yourself and what your foundation is.
Okay.
So I have a lot of American cousins that would come up when we, in our teens, to go out partying. And we go to white clubs in Montreal, and they'd be nervous. And it took us a while to figure out they're nervous.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they did in the U.S. They went to
Right.
only black clubs.
Right.
Whereas in Montreal, we all mingled.
Right.
So it was a big surprise to them. So the experiences are very different. My experiences as an adult have always been very subtle forms of racism.
Right.
Yeah.
The most overtly one I had was working in Montreal, so I would guess it would be about the 80s. I had a woman walk into my office, and an elderly woman, and in French she said that she's not going to deal with this monkey.
Right.
Really?
Now, what she didn't understand is, quote unquote, this monkey is fluent in French.
Oh my God. Oh.
So her idea was, you're black, you don't speak French, I'm going to call you a
Right.
monkey.
You're probably not that educated.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, she
yeah.
got a whole lot of F-bombs in French and all the other curse words I know, and she walked out of the office.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was the most overt type of racism I'd seen in a while. Other than that, it's very subtle.
Yeah.
You get passed
before
over
you
for things.
before you go there, because I want to go back just really quickly to something that you had mentioned, like with the fact that black culture. There's so many different areas of black culture, and depending on where you grew up, where you were raised, how you were raised, all that stuff. Same with any culture, right? I mean, white people were not all the same, right? It depends. Where did we grow up? What were our parents like?
According to most black people, you're all the same.
Right, but it goes the same way, right? Like
Yes, it does.
that's the thing we get caught up in, right? Like if you're black, you're like this. Well, if you're white, you're like this. If you're from the Middle East, you're like this, right? And so my question is, because we talk about this on the podcast a lot, where somebody, usually a white person, will stand up and say what we're doing against another culture that's so terrible and wrong. Why it's a white person representing that culture in the first place, I have no fucking idea. But
But that's,
my question is, like, does that piss you off when one person tries to say what black culture is and what black people are offended by, not offended by, how they live, what they need, what they don't need? Mm-hmm. Like, to talk for an entire race of people.
Mm-hmm. It pisses me. Just recently, I have a daughter who's a little wasp. When I say wasp, she will just sting at everything. So she brings me this article and she says, "Look at this, Mom." I can't remember what they were complaining about. I think it had to do with a T-shirt or something. And she gets to the end and she said, "Mom, do you know who complained about this?" I said, "No." I said, "What black organization?" She said, "No, some stupid white guy." I said, "What the fuck does he know? What the fuck does he know about races?" It's. I think some people are trying to feel that they're standing up for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It didn't offend me, and it didn't offend the greater part of the black population. The T-shirt.
Well,
But
and
this
not
one
only
person-
that, but the white people are like, they think that if I do this, it's going to make me look good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Well, and to really highlight that, we did one of our News Our Ways little segments there on Uncle Ray's restaurant that was opening up in Toronto. Apparently, there's already one in Hamilton, and Twitter absolutely exploded because of the press release that was put out for Uncle Ray's food. Okay, now to be clear, Uncle Ray's is owned by 3 white guys, and they're talking about using Southern cuisine. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what Southern cuisine is. Is it just food from the South, and stuff like this? But they went and all of Twitter was exploding, saying how racist this press release was. And the part that really set it off was the fact that they had a poster of King Kong yelling out, "Who the hell's Uncle Ray?" And they said it was racist for the reference to monkeys and black people, because we're talking about Southern food. Apparently, all blacks are from the South, and you have King Kong who represents a monkey and stuff like this. Well, they're losing their fucking mind on it. And then, what was the other thing? Well, then they started talking about, if we got this area here that you can do, this area here, or if you're just in for a quick little side hustle, here you go over here. Oh, whoa, side hustle, that's a black thing. And then, talking about the platters. Yeah, we gang up this food with this and this. Oh, gang, black thing. And they were ripping this press release apart, right? And it was a poorly worded press release. I'll be totally honest on that. But it was, let's try to pull as much racism out of there as we possibly can. They're digging in.
But do you
And the
know
funny
who
part was,
doing it?
I'm going down the Twitter feed, watching who's all commenting. Predominantly white chicks.
Yep.
And, you know, there were a few black people in there, and a couple people from other colors and stuff like this. You know, whatever color, purple, green, and yellow, and
Yeah.
you know, brown, whatever. But it was predominantly white chicks yelling and screaming. Like, it started off with a black guy that's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." You know, he took it as racist. That's his opinion. That's his perception. But then all of a sudden, all the white girls in the Ugg boots, they all fucking jumped on and went and said, "Oh
Ugg
my
boots.
God."
You forgot the other half, the Ugg boots dating black guys.
Yes, yes. You know,
Stealing all our
yeah.
men.
But
Yeah.
you know, and that was the whole thing. Like, they're just going absolutely batshit crazy over this, and
Yeah.
that's what we see a lot. To give another example, we went up to the university in the local town here, and we started asking people, you know, the different students on the street, you know, can you define diversity for us? Can you define racism for us? What do you feel about racism? Like, do you feel that this is a racist area? Because we keep hearing in the news that, oh my God, there's so much racism on campus. There's so much racism here, so much racism here. Canada as a whole is a completely racist country, you know, and stuff like this. We get all this information from the news media. The only person, because we had a white girl, we had
Oriental, Asian.
Oriental, Asian, you know, Asian of all different types. You know, we had people from all over the world. We have one person that actually follows us on our Instagram there that was actually from Brazil, and we had a great conversation with her. And the only person that said anything about racism being here in Canada and all this good stuff was the one single white girl that we talked to. Everyone else was like, man, this is great. You know, we had the one Asian go and say, no, I haven't experienced any racism up here in Canada, like real racism up in here in Canada. And matter of fact, I haven't even experienced it here in North America, and I lived in Texas. You know, so
I think it's guilt.
Yeah.
It's guilt, but it's a strange guilt that's, I think, an overflow from the U.S. with the.
Do you think it's guilt, or do you think it's them trying to prove something? Like, that's my thought. Like they got to prove that I'm not racist. It's like that old thing where, like,
I have black friends.
I have a black friend.
Yeah, I got two white friends.
Yeah,
sitting across the table from me.
exactly. You know, no, but you know what I mean, right?
I got a
I'm
black-
not racist.
I have
One of my
black-
best friends is
is
black.
black.
Yeah.
right?
You
Like,
still
it's
hear
the
that,
same.
yeah.
You do, and it's the
Yeah.
same. It's like they want to feel like, I don't even know. Like, hey, look at me. Like, I'm a good person. I'm one of the good
Yeah.
ones.
I'm standing up for rights. I'm an activist.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And
And then I see, like, in this situation, like with black people saying, can you sit down and shut the fuck up?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know shit.
Well, listen, I want to ask this white girl in the Ugg boots.
Yeah.
If this is how you feel about this, are you going to date that 6'7" black guy who's
Yeah.
interested in you, or are you going to run the other way? Are you going to bring him home to mommy and daddy?
Yeah.
What happens if you get knocked up? Are you going to have a mulatto baby? Are you going to go
Yeah.
ahead? Think about it.
Yeah.
If you are going to say those things and you're going to stand for those things, when those things present itself in life,
yeah.
how are you going to deal with it? Is it the truth? Are you speaking the truth about how you feel, or are you just jumping on a bandwagon? It's good to say, yeah, racism is here. What
Yeah.
racism is she facing other than her ugly Uggs?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like Uggs. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why I'm all about Uggs. But it's that sort of thing. But I know those
Yeah.
types of girls.
Yeah.
You know,
Or those types of people, and I just find it funny because, you know, the harder they supposedly, quote unquote, are trying to bring everybody together, they're separating the groups because they're saying, okay, everybody that's black, this is what they're like, this is what they accept and don't accept. Everybody that's from the LGBT community, this is what they're like. You can't say this, you can't say this. Everybody. So in trying to bring people together, they're ripping everybody apart.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
doing the opposite effect, right?
Yeah.
And it all boils down to language.
Yeah.
You know, people are so sensitive about the words, but it's the intention of the words. It's like the word fuck. You could say it in so many different ways, you know, as an adjective, as a noun, as this and that. And it's
My
still-
favorite word.
Yeah.
I like the verb.
Yeah, it's right up there with me, and it's unfortunate. I think even my grandsons have adopted that word from me. It's yeah, I've got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But it just really, I just don't understand it. For me, my life has been good.
Yeah.
I'm really the racism I faced the most of on a daily basis was being an Anglophone in Quebec,
Yeah.
where I constantly had to stand up for
So,
my rights.
so not even the fact that you're a black female, but the fact that you were English.
Yeah, they don't like that in Canada.
Yeah. English, the fact that I was English overtook the fact that I was black.
Yeah.
And the reason being, I believe, was there a large Haitian population in Montreal. So they were accustomed to black speaking French
Right.
Right.
or patois, which they understood, but not me.
Right.
So the incident one day that was I had to go down to the courthouse. I was going to marry the guy I was going to marry hadn't gotten a divorce yet. So I had to fill in all the papers on my own. So I went down, I made some errors in French, and I asked the woman for the documents that I needed. And she started pointing out spelling errors.
Right.
I remember leaning over the counter and saying in French, I am doing my best to speak your language to get the paperwork I want. And you're telling me you're not going to give it to me because of
Yeah.
a couple of verbs or whatever? It's not until you hold up a mirror to someone
Yeah.
and they see how their behavior is, do they get it?
Yeah.
She immediately got us all the papers we needed and
Yeah.
switched to English.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm a true believer in holding up a mirror to someone. You're going to hand me that racist bullshit? I'm going to hold up a mirror and I'm going to tell you exactly what you're doing to me. I find when you tell someone, for example, you know someone doesn't like you. The moment
Yeah.
you say to them, well, I know you don't like me,
Yeah.
it's a whole different ball
Yeah.
game. It's like, oh my
Oh,
God, my
yeah.
secret got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And worse if
Yeah.
you say, well, I don't like you either.
Yeah.
And then their world comes crashing in. People don't realize it's a duality to everything.
Yeah.
You want to treat me like that, I'm going to hold up a mirror to you and show you what your behavior is like.
Mm-hmm.
And you decide for yourself.
Well, I like how you're talking about the mirror, like just really quickly, because both the U.S. and Canada, our prime minister and their Trump, right, their president, over the last week or so, really some of the true colors of the two of them have come out. Like when you look at our prime minister, who has been like the front runner for the native people, and saying we're never ever going to take land again. We're never gonna, we're not going back. And he's always doing that. What do you call that to the land?
Appropriation?
Like
No,
where they like honor the land before every speech, and it's to like.
it's like part of the blessing. I can't remember
Yeah,
the
yeah, you know what I mean though.
Yeah.
They do that whole thing, right? And then the pipeline all came down this week,
Mm-hmm.
and the federal court said, no, we're going to do it anyways. We don't care.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, the true colors came out. I mean, he can hide behind the fact that that's a court decision. That's not my decision, right? But at the end of the day, it still comes down to money. It still comes down to wealth. Like, we'll work with you as much, but that, almost like that whole, like, it was just bullshit,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day. And then I see Trump, I watched the State of the Union address.
You actually watched that?
I did,
Oh
because
my God, my stomach was so upset. I had
it
to
was
turn
it,
off.
wasn't it?
I couldn't watch it.
Everybody he honored was of a different nationality. I don't know how many times he mentioned like how he's working with, the blacks and, all these changes. Like everybody knows he's racist,
Yeah.
right? But he's trying to like do this whole cover up where I can't imagine watching that in your shoes and having and going, is this for fucking real happening? Is this like,
That's exactly how I feel. I'm astounded at the U.S., the state that they're in, that they're honoring a man who's so overtly racist, a liar. It's just morally incomprehensible what he's doing. I just don't understand it. And again, it's flowing over to our side. Because it's an energy that he's putting out, and that energy, and you've seen it. You remember the Pizzagate thing? It's the energy's getting everybody going and ramped up, and that's flowing over to us.
Yeah.
The moment you get to that border and they start cranking down on you, it's flowing over to us,
yeah.
and that's not good, because I don't believe we are that culture, or we can't head that way in Canada, and I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to. On the flip side of it, I'm not even going to get into the racism of the indigenous people in this country. That's a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
area with
Yeah.
me there. But yeah, it's flowing over, and it's not good, because people in general will look at blacks as a lump, not Canadians, not Americans, and what our experiences are that make things different for us.
Yeah.
And they will just assume that what's going on in the U.S. to blacks is what's happening to us here.
Right.
Now, you have Toronto with the shootings, etc. You're not seeing white cop shot a black guy. What you mostly hear is white cop tasers and shoots a poor child who's having a mental crisis at the time.
Yeah.
Rarely do you hear there that it was a white cop shooting a black kid because of this.
Yeah.
You know? So now, you remember with the, what was it, Black Lives Matter?
Yes.
Remember how big it got here in Toronto?
Yeah.
And again, that was American institutions and the American Black Lives Matter coming in
Yeah.
to Canada.
Right. Do you
Yeah.
think there was like a need for the hashtag Black Lives Matter here? Like, do you think we were at that point where we needed like a real radical intervention?
I think we need more of an intervention on guns than we need on Black Lives Matter because these black
On
kids,
guns or gangs?
well, guns and gangs.
Yeah.
But these, when you hear these Black Lives Matter,
Doesn't every life matter?
yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It just,
I'm going to get called out for that comment.
Yeah.
yeah. But
White
every
boy.
life does matter. For me, the first instance that I saw of police brutality against someone black was in Montreal, and I'll never forget this. I could not have been more than about 22 years old.
Yeah.
And his name was Marcellus Francois, I believe was his name. And he was in a parking lot. And he was about 16 or 17. And he was walking away from the officer. And
Yeah.
he shot him in the back and killed
Right.
this kid. I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
And he got off. I can't remember something that the gun accidentally went, and you knew it was a cover-up. And that was the start of it
Right.
for me, realizing that black men don't have a chance. It really doesn't matter. But I
Really?
haven't seen. Listen, the other one after that was he went to get his. Some of you guys put your wallets under your car seat.
Yeah.
He went to get his wallet, got shot in the head,
Right.
reaching for a
Right.
gun. So Montreal has a big issue with that, where they are now really sensitizing their police force, and especially what's called the SQ, the Sûreté de Québec. That's like the OPP.
Right.
They're like the worst. I'll tell you a story about that one in a minute, what
Yeah.
they did to me. So Toronto is different because you've always been multicultural. You've
Right.
always had a high population. So that worked itself out.
Right.
Whereas Montreal, it never worked itself out. And it's only now, in this time, in this age, that they're starting to think about that and work that out. I know my brother's never had a problem. I've been stopped by police before in Montreal. They
Yeah.
look at my license. You're Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll knock off a point. Oh, your brother? Can you get me tickets?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's how life works, people.
Of course. Of course.
That's
Yeah.
how life works.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. My experience with the SQ was I was living off island in a small community, very tiny community that was predominantly Irish and Scottish. Raised my family there. I was driving a minivan. And I had a baseball cap on, and as you guys say, I look young.
Yeah.
So this kid, he couldn't have been more than 18 years old, pulls me over, and he thinks that I'm a black guy in a stolen minivan.
That's your choice, the minivan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently they were stealing white minivans so they could shove stuff in it. So he thought I was a young black kid
Yeah.
in a minivan. He pulls me over and he comes, and he's all ready to make an arrest. And he looks at me, I give him my thing, and he just stumbled. He didn't know
Yeah.
what to say he was pulling me over
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me here in Mississauga. My daughter and my son-in-law moved to Ontario, so we're living in a basement apartment, kind of stuffy and stuff. We want to have a smoke. So I said, jump in the car, we'll drive around the neighborhood, go for a smoke. So we come around, it's a pretty nice neighborhood in Mississauga, and we turn the corner and I see some cops sitting there. I said to the kids, you watch and see what's going to happen now. They're going to pull your mama over. I said, put out your joints right now.
Put out the joint.
I put the joint out right now. Sure enough, we turned on to Winston Churchill, lights behind me.
Yeah.
Pulls me over, then he realizes, like I'm a 58-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm.
Hold it. Oh, your tail light was blown. I have no blown tail light.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but he thought, again, Deb had on a baseball cap.
Right.
Right.
Seems like every time I put on a baseball cap, I get mistaken for a young black kid and I get pulled over by the cops. That is racial profiling.
Yeah.
That is like the epitome of it. To pull someone over thinking it's a black man turns out to be a 50 or 60-year-old black woman driving.
Right.
And now you have to backtrack and say, so if it was a black guy, what were you going to say about the taillight?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
How would that a situation have worked itself out?
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to take it from a different point of view, though, right? Because like we're all about different perspectives here, and you say it's a fairly upscale neighborhood and stuff like this, and minivan, you got the ball cap pulled down low and stuff like this, and for myself, if I saw someone cruising around an upscale neighborhood in a minivan, the hat down low and stuff like that, I might be wanting to question as well, like, wait, what's going on? It wouldn't necessarily, could be a white kid for all I cared, like.
You see, for me, in that particular instance, it was the angle of the vehicles. I was here,
Okay.
he was here, so his light shone directly on us.
Right.
He was able to see. There
Yeah.
were 3 occupants in the car.
Yeah.
And my daughter's no bigger than I am, and my son-in-law is maybe 2 inches taller.
Right.
So,
So you got a car full of young people,
Yes.
with the ball caps down, stuff like this, in the minivan, cruising this, fairly upscale neighborhood there. I'd pull you over too,
yeah,
and,
I understood that. That's
yeah,
why I said to the kids,
yeah.
they're going to pull us over. Because I
Yeah.
knew right away the light shone on us. I said, they're going to pull us over.
Yeah.
And I really actually wasn't thinking so much of a racism thing. I was thinking more, we are driving around real slow in a neighborhood. It sure looks like we're casing the place. And
Yeah.
all we wanted was just to have a smoke.
Yeah.
But it was just the whole interaction after when he
Right.
realized how old I was.
Yeah.
And I told him straight up, I said, we live in a basement apartment. We came out to get some air and drive around for a smoke.
Yeah.
And then said, well, I called you over because of your busted taillight. There's
Yeah.
no busted taillight.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, about
now,
that.
do you think maybe that was him trying to, because as I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Did you think that was maybe his way of trying to say, it wasn't because you're black, right?
Yeah.
Because let's face it, you hear it all the time. You see the videos all the time. You're just pulling me over because I'm black. No, I'm not. You were speeding.
Yeah.
That's why I pulled you over. No, it had nothing to do with my speed. No, it was.
But that's the thing. It usually escalates after
Yeah.
that. Because the initial thing that some people will do, whether Canada or the U.S., you're stopping me because I'm black. There's a good chance they probably didn't see you because most of us have tinted windows to a certain degree. And it was because you're speeding, but then you want to escalate it another level.
Yeah.
Because now you've been caught doing something and you want to put blame. So this is where you pull the black card,
Yeah.
the racist card.
Right.
And I've never been one to pull a black card or a racist card.
Yeah.
That's not me.
I try it all the time. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you pulled me over because I'm white, didn't you?
Maybe
Doesn't work.
Yeah. No, you probably get a pass, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of what?
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's pulling the racist card because I just, it's just not my experience. It's just not what I would do. I'm trying to think in my little noggin here if I've ever pulled the racist card. No, not to the best of my knowledge. It's not.
Well, and like a little bit earlier, talking about, the cops shooting black men and stuff like this. I find a lot of times, you go and that's all you hear in the media. That's all you hear in the media. White cop did this to black person. White cop did this to black. But nobody ever mentions the black cop shoots the white kid, right? It's not like it's not happening. It does happen.
But what this does, it makes it sound like all black kids are bad. What about the white kid that got shot in his back because he was stealing? Why is it always bringing that up all the time when it's happening everywhere? All you got to do is read Florida news.
Yeah.
You want to be entertained?
Oh,
What about
Florida's
Exactly.
a different world.
crazies in
Everybody's
Florida?
nuts there.
Yeah.
It,
And
it
every
used to
time-
be like Alabama or something like that, but now it's all Florida.
Yeah, and then you read it, and the first thing you say after the first, he's fucking white.
That's right.
Yeah, lots of crazy whites there.
black person will do that shit.
That's right.
Yeah.
If
That's
they're
my-
crazy, they're white.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, like as you're saying, like with the white cop shooting, black man and stuff like this. The black is always bad and stuff like this. But then you get the whole thing. Well, all cops are racist.
They're not.
No. And, if that was really the case, how would the Toronto Police Force have a black chief of police? I don't think that's how that works.
But I mean, a lot of that is that. I mean, that's media driven. That's
Yes.
right. They're perpetuating
Yes.
a system that, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not saying, again, like, nobody at this table is stupid enough to say that racism doesn't exist.
No.
It 100% does. There
Yeah.
are racist police officers.
Yeah.
There's racist judges. There's race people everywhere.
Yeah.
But the media really likes to perpetuate those stories because they sell.
Yeah.
When you have a black teenager shot by a white police officer, they know that that's clickbait. People
Yeah.
are going to want to see that because that anger culture wants something else to grab onto.
But is it fair that we continue to feed an anger culture?
No.
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 The anger culture, outrage
Yeah.
culture, whatever you want to call it now,
It's not.
it's getting absolutely ridiculous. You know, like it's why we got, you know, the why so offended thing on the
Yeah,
go.
I was looking at that.
You know, and like, you know, you're both saying like, you know, Trump's a complete racist and stuff like this. I personally haven't seen it. You know, has he made different comments? Absolutely. But then how could you explain the black Republicans, right? Are they completely brainwashed or completely ignoring his racism and, you know, stuff like that? You know, or is it the media's really pushed it? You know, because I know he has done stuff, and you know, I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter. I kind of support a lot of different people. There's only like one person I really don't, but that's another story. But
They were voted in.
Yeah.
You know the Carlson guy, what's his name? He was the brain surgeon, and Trump appointed him as head of HUB, which is the housing project.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Ben Carson.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
I hope he hears this.
Yeah.
I'd like to send him the link.
Actually, I'd like to hope he does too, because that means we've gone big.
Yeah, Trump was really pushing him as, look, we've got a black Republican, and he's
Yeah.
been appointed. The guy's, okay, you're a neuroscientist or a neurologist, but you're brain dead.
Right.
I mean, he did not speak for black people. He didn't even understand the department that he was running. So these
Yeah.
people, are elected because they believe in the idea of the Republic Party.
Yeah.
Whether they sleep at night with Trump or whether their family throws
Yeah.
grits and greens and fried chicken and watermelon at them because they're pissed off at them.
You just described a great dinner.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Just so we know, that's not black food. That's everybody
Everybody's
food.
Yeah,
Fat guys like this too.
Exactly. So I don't speak to any of my American family about this because it really is a pressure point with me.
Yeah.
But they're in there because they got elected. Whether they're speaking their mind or speaking their morals.
Yeah.
But as you've seen, Trump canned 3 people already just because, and prior to all those people. So everybody's shitting in their pants because this man's carrying a lot of power.
Yeah.
Or
Well, and now even more because, the fuck, I always get them mixed up. The Democrats
Yeah.
put him with that power because of them trying to
impeach him.
impeach him, and everything they've tried to throw at him just bounces off and goes away, and every time they just keep making him more and more powerful.
Yeah.
And he's like, look,
Teflon Don.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm untouchable.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
Well, and that's the thing. Like we've discussed it many times before. Like the Democrats have been trying to impeach him since he first said, "You know what? Maybe I think I'll go for president." Fucking impeach him.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. Fucking. Whoa now.
Yeah.
You know. Like, and like I know there's a large proportion of the LGBT community that are like, yeah, fuck Trump, and shit like this. But there was a story that was basically almost covered up because you can hardly find it. I found it the one day and I was like, oh my god, I gotta save this, and I didn't. But he had one of his members of his party, whatever position he was in, I can't remember. He was an openly gay man, right, and stuff like this. And Trump went and said, okay, you know what? This whole, killing of the gay people over in the Middle East, that's bullshit. It's got to fucking stop. So because you're gay, you understand the community a little bit better. Go figure out ways that we're going to go in there. If I have to come in and talk to them, fine. But you figure out how I'm getting in there to talk to them to say, no more killing the gays. Right? And stuff like this. But it doesn't work for the liberal media. And stuff like that.
Yeah. You might have found that story on Fox, but definitely not CNN.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Definitely not CNN.
No.
They're very anti-Trump.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he is doing good things, but you also have to remember, he's the type of man who does things for his own advantage. So
And who doesn't? Honestly, who doesn't? I know I do.
But the difference with him, though, I think, is he's a little bit more freewheeling with stepping on whoever he has to step on to get to where he is.
That, and he's not a politician.
No, he's a
He's not a
businessman.
Exactly.
He's a businessman,
You know,
100%.
Whereas politicians all the time is, I better make sure this is carefully scripted, and I only say what's exactly
Yeah.
scripted
well,
and
that's
stuff like
Trudeau
this.
right now.
Yeah.
That's Trudeau.
But that
Yeah.
keeps getting him in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Which personally I like.
Poor
But
boy. Poor boy.
I want to
Yeah.
get into you working as a businesswoman now, right? So in our culture, do you have something else?
no,
When we
no.
move on?
No.
I didn't
I
understand.
just wanted to clear up some of the stuff that we were talking about and, kind of wrap that end up. Yeah.
Oh, for Trump or?
Yeah. Trump shooting, cops shooting anybody, stuff like that.
Trump shooting police?
Well, he
Maybe,
did.
I don't know.
Didn't Trump say he
Hashtag-
could walk down New York City, and shoot someone, and nothing would happen to him? Remember
yeah.
he said that?
Wouldn't you feel like that if you were him right now, though?
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
They've tried to hit that guy with everything.
Yeah.
He's got elephant balls right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like nothing is gonna.
I'd feel like that if I was him right
Yeah.
now. I'd be like, motherfucker, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
get him in trouble, though.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
It will, but I think he's getting in the next election.
Oh, for sure. He's
Yeah.
got another 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess Whoopi Goldberg will be moving to Canada. Whoopi, pot's legal here.
Come on over.
Yeah, come on over.
Come on over.
So you want to ask about my business and what I do and how it all.
Yeah, like I guess I just want to talk, like, because again, like we go back to, like, I mean, I don't even know how to say this, but so right now our culture is working on demerit points. Okay, so like if you, first example, so if you were a black man, then you only have one demerit point because you are one level
Yeah.
that you're oppressed,
Yeah. The oppression level. The
oppression level.
The oppression Olympics.
right? But being a black woman, that's two.
Yeah.
So disadvantages, so to say, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Do you like? Can you explain to us, like, because you are a businesswoman,
Yeah.
you've done well for yourself. What does it look like in the business world for you? Because we don't know. Like, I don't know what the truth is. I don't know.
Well, one-on-one, the initial intake with someone on the phone, when I meet them, I see it in their eyes immediately.
Yeah.
Unless if they've researched me before and seen my picture and know who I am. Outside of that, I see it in their eyes immediately. And for some people, it's a pleasurable surprise.
Yeah.
And then for other people, they're intimidated. And this is what I have to actually deal with in my business, is people feeling intimidated by me.
Really?
Yes, people feeling, oh, she's too educated. And this is not only just servicing my clients, this is just dealing in business and sitting down, collaborating or talking with people. They tend to be intimidated by me. Now, I don't know if the intimidation comes from the fact that this is different than what they expected. I don't know if they expected a heavy accent, bad language, hoochie clothes. I don't know what the frig they were expecting.
Yeah.
So, but then comes in, they feel intimidated once I start speaking. And I don't use words that, and if I use a word that I think someone may have difficulty understanding, I follow it with a sentence that makes it very clear what the word is. But there's always that. And those are the clients that I don't work with because they fight back. Because they're fighting their own cultural or prejudices or whatever they have going on. They're having to deal with that while dealing with me. And it's just not jiving. It's just not making sense in their head at all.
Right.
That I'm one way, but this black woman is supposed to be like this.
But do you think it's just because you do have a very, like, expressive personality,
It's out there.
right? Like you know, but you can.
Yeah, you folks should see her away from the microphones.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a good
Exactly.
conversation before.
Oh, no. We don't even want to talk about all my gardens that I spoke about.
Because, like, I can see how people would see you being intimidating, right? Because you're a strong woman, you are educated, right? I'm sure you can do a verbal battle with anybody, right? So, do you think it's more that, or do you attribute it to the fact that you're a black female solely?
It's a combination, but you touched on something that's really, really interesting there. Black women being strong. I just finished reading an article on that, how black women are not getting the medical care that they need, and they're dying at a higher rate of breast cancers and cervical cancers and childbirth. Why? Because medical professions believe black women are supposed to be strong. So when we're yelling and screaming that we're in pain, we're not actually in pain. We're just
Right.
complaining.
Right.
Really?
So it was a huge article, quote unquote, because you know it. You always hear black women are strong. We've had to hold up our families. We've had to hold up
Yeah.
our men. And then the other stereotype: our men run off on us. So we're all
Yeah.
single mothers. We're strong, strong, strong women, and that transfers into the world, and other people, professionals, will view black women as strong. What is she complaining about? She's not in pain. She's strong.
Right.
She can handle it.
Right.
But you get little Ugg girl walking in, crying.
Right.
She gets the first bed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing.
Meanwhile, they should probably be pushed off a little bit further. You
Yeah,
wait.
just
We'll let you know when you're in pain.
put you on a gurney and send you down the
I
hallway.
have a hangnail.
Yeah. So, saying that strong, and yes, I've had to be strong because
Yeah.
you got to walk down that street. And if they're calling you nigger as you're walking down the street, you better be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you cry, it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
So they're laughing at you about your afro, the size of your lips, everything. You've got to be strong.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of both. They're a little bit intimidated because it's not what they expected. And yes, I know that I can intimidate people because that's just where I'm out there. My personality, this is who I am. I'm vocal about things.
Well, you're a presence, right? You bring a presence with you.
Oh yeah. Like I will be completely honest. When and I mentioned this right at the very beginning of the podcast there, that we met you at the podcasting 101 thing, and then when we were told, listen, you guys really need to figure out your brand and figure this out. We had made a comment, that basically incited this whole thing, trying to explain, look, this is what we're trying to do. And as an example, and we gave our example that we were talking about, and, you saw half people kind of like, what are these white boys saying? And then, the one person was like, listen, I think you need to figure something out, and then all of a sudden you shot up, you stood up right there. And you're like, no, and I'm just like, oh fuck, is that no at me? Oh,
remember that.
did I step over that line when I made this comment?
I remember that.
And you're like, no, these white boys know what they're talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh good, we're on the right spot.
That was one of the most refreshing things that I've had at one of these events, just to see that somebody's actually doing something,
Yeah.
talking about it, stepping outside the box
Yeah.
on it all. But
and honestly, we've talked a lot about the racism against blacks and stuff like this, but there's also the discussion about the racism towards whites. But and I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I think we were talking about this before we started recording. But how the the oppressed can't be racist, but
the oppressor is just not hearing the oppressed voice.
yeah.
That's all. They're just not hearing what we're having to say about you
And
guys.
that's the thing. As I said, we got the white girls, right? The UGG girls there. They're going and busy speaking up for the black community, the LGBT community, and every other fucking community that they think that they need to protect, right? But then at the same time, you get two dumb white boys like us going and saying something, and we're like, no, listen, we experience racism too. But then you get the black girls, the young millennial black girls going, no, you guys don't understand what racism is. You won't ever figure it out. And it's like, no, it does happen.
If
It
I
happens
took-
both ways.
If I took both you guys and dropped you in Zimbabwe, what do you think is going to happen to you?
Oh shit, I'm fucked up.
Nobody's bowing down to you as
No.
some white god who's just arrived to save you or anything.
No.
People are just going to look at you and go like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Right.
Get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here, white boy.
Well, what you're finding now is that I can't speak for North America, but
Yeah.
the Africans are saying
Yeah.
like, you're not our saviors.
No.
All you've done is just brought us crap and
Yeah.
incited
Grief.
wars and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not our saviors. So
Yeah.
what people here are complaining about, they don't realize, and I always say this, take these same white people and drop
Yeah.
them somewhere where it's predominantly black, and
Yeah.
they're going to experience what we're experiencing. So
Yeah.
to say that whites don't experience prejudice,
No.
I mean, even growing up in the Caribbean, my family is very mixed.
Yeah.
So a lot of light skins and eyes, and the ones that were light skinned were the ones that were teased.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The ones that were light skinned in our family were the ones that were teased.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But like, as I was saying, like, right here, like even here in North America, I'm being told that, racism cannot affect me because I'm an oppressor, and, even if the oppressed, are saying these things, it's not racist because, well, we were all the oppressors. But I've seen it so many times where, like for me, that's a racist comment in itself, saying that I can't have racism put against me, because I'm white.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
I mean, you're walking down the street, you don't know what that black
No.
person's thinking about you. You remember
Yeah.
the thing I told you about hold your purse tight
Yeah.
or pull your kids closer to you? That black family's doing the same thing to you white guys when
Yeah.
they see you on the street. They're
Of
pulling
course.
their kids closer and they're holding their purse.
I will tell you a great story right now. And I know that there was, the prejudice on both sides. My grandfather and I went down to Toledo. We went to Toledo for a model airplane flying thing, and we were on our way back, and my grandfather decided that he needed to take this one turn off in Detroit for some fucking reason. I don't know why, but next thing you know, he pulls off, and I'm looking around, and I'm knowing exactly where I am. And I'm thinking to myself, don't stop at the stop signs. We need to keep going. And sure as shit, I'm looking out, and all I'm seeing is, what the fuck are you doing in my neighborhood type
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, you need to keep going. Grandpa, please, go.
Yeah.
Go. Like, we're not having good looks here at all. Little do they know, we're just here to fly model airplanes. That's it.
Yeah.
We're not here
that's
to
just
do anything.
it. I mean, the people who are saying that whites who are saying they can't experience, they're not experiencing, they're just not
No.
in the situation
Yeah.
to experience it. Like you,
Yeah.
I had to go. Was it? I think it was a Steely Dan concert.
Yeah.
I went to, and I had to stay in Detroit.
Yeah.
And the hotel we got to had shut down for some reason. They didn't tell us. You want to talk about? And I was with a 6'7" white guy, and I was
Yeah.
shitting my pants.
Yeah.
Not because that we were an interracial couple, but everything else around us.
Yeah.
And I'm black, and
Yeah.
I'm worried. But that's
Yeah.
just sensibility.
Yeah.
It's just sensibility. But
It's like,
yeah.
hey, babe, I love you, but can you walk like 20 feet over there?
Yeah.
Well, here, this can open up another thing.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance, we're done now. He was white.
Yeah.
My husband, ex-husband, is white. I think in the last maybe 15, 20 years of my life, just the way it worked out, I only dated white guys.
Yeah.
The very first white guy that I dated, I didn't even want to hold his hand. And he was insistent on holding my hand. Insistent.
Well, that seems rather racist of him.
Well,
Why would he want to hold a black girl's hand?
Well, then I had to ask him.
Well,
Going back-
I just see the UGG girl going, I told you they're stealing all our men.
Listen, the stories I could tell you about all that. Well, yeah, they're thinking that as well
Yeah.
too. But I asked him eventually. I said, "Why do you want to hold my hand? Do you want to show that you're like the only white guy on St. Catherine Street with a black girl? Because this is going back to early '80s, so '82." And he said, "No, Deb. It's because I love you and I want to hold your hand." And that's when I started holding his hand, because
Right.
when I held his hand, the stares we would get.
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible. Even his own mother went over the roof.
Yeah.
Really?
That you were dating a black girl and all
Okay,
this.
so now I have a question for you. How were your parents towards that?
Well, I was lucky I had my brothers break down that door before I showed up with my
Oh,
white
yeah?
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brothers.
So your brothers stuck, or I'm going to try to say this in English, stuck up for you.
Well, no, their girlfriends were white. The
Okay.
initial girl, and in particular, there was one girl who just turned out, she ended up marrying my brother and 3.
Yeah.
My father hit the roof.
Right.
She's white.
Yeah.
She's going to dilute.
Not a valley accent, is it?
No.
Because that's not a good dinner time. Like, oh my god, I can't believe. Oh my god,
Well,
yes.
well, the worst part was she was Métis. She's like,
Yeah.
so once the grandchild came along, it was an entirely different story altogether. But so my brothers broke down that barrier
Right.
by bringing home, and I heard it. I heard it constantly from my father. You're
Yeah.
going to dilute the family. This is the Ferdinands. We stick together. We don't bring anyone in. And I used to be scratching my head all the time. I don't
Yeah.
get this. And then it was, let me go find myself a white boy, bring one home. See what the hell happens now.
So you.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
me. And the first one I brought home was Mark. And
Yeah.
today we're still friends. And but he was the one who showed to me, have pride. It doesn't matter that people are staring at us.
Yeah.
You have pride.
Yeah.
We are a couple, and it doesn't matter. And it was after that I started seeing more and more interracial couples.
Right.
Right.
And the thing is, you'd pass one on the nod, you
Nod.
smile.
That's
yeah, yeah.
That's right. We're breaking down the
Yeah.
barriers.
Yeah, I
And
got
then
one too.
And then I've got black girls. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Black girls would say to me, "How do I get a white guy? Are they
Yeah.
really different from black guys?"
Yeah.
And they
they're much, much smaller. No,
I was gonna say, yeah, you're giving up some things from my understanding. I don't know, about 4 inches, I think.
Yeah, you got
at
it.
least.
Well, that's one of the things they break up. They say, so what are the differences? I'll eventually boil it down to
Yeah.
guys are guys, they're all pigs.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter black or white. But the black girls would constantly ask me that, why do you date white guys? What's
Yeah.
so good about them? Do they treat you better?
Yeah.
I said, people are people. They'll treat
Yeah.
you how you want to be treated.
Right.
So for
Right.
me, it was dating white guy. When I did date the occasional black guy, people smiled at us a lot because it's
Right.
supposed to be what it's supposed to
Right.
be. But when it's the other way around, another example, we were at a family function, and my brother-in-law, he's Dutch but black. He's about this color, standing next to.
So he black.
Yeah, he black.
Okay.
He black. He's standing next to my husband.
Yeah.
A girlfriend of mine is there, blah, 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 blah. I said, yeah, Fraser, my husband. I said, he's over there. Go say hi to him. She went straight over to the black guy.
That's right.
Straight over to my brother-in-law, and shook his hand. Hi, I'm so-and-so. You're Debbie's husband.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And he's like, no, I definitely don't want to be Deb's husband.
Yeah.
And my husband, he was very accustomed to that.
Yeah.
He would go everywhere, and people would not know he's my
Yeah.
husband because they assumed I married someone black.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
I had someone show up at our wedding and say, in the receiving line, I didn't know he was white.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the kind of subtle
Now
shit
you
I
know.
put
Now,
up with,
now,
yeah.
now, would you consider that racism?
No, I consider that stupidity, and I
Yeah.
consider that someone who doesn't know me to
Right.
know that it makes no difference to me and that you were surprised that he was white.
So full on ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you be surprised that he was
Were you
white?
were you more attracted to white men? Like, not to put you out there. I'm just asking
Yeah.
because, like you say, you had quite a few white boyfriends.
I think it was more the environment that I grew up with and the
Right.
opportunities. So the whole thing about the yacht club, that's not
Yeah.
a joke.
Yeah.
Those are the areas. Like, I would get
Jeez,
in-
we got to hook up with her. She can get us into the yacht club. Fuck yeah.
We get kicked out. In an
Yeah, we
hour.
get kicked out.
I was just one of those people. I would get invited to these very posh
Yeah.
clubs or events. I also played squash. So squash was a very upper echelon white
Yeah.
thing. So I got to move into those circles as well.
Well, because not to throw this out there, but we found out earlier you can't play basketball.
Oh. That goes back to high school. They tried to put me on the basketball team. I said, are you out of your mind? I actually said that to the teacher because you think I'm black?
Yeah.
I can play basketball? I said, I want to play volleyball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but, and I'm
That's
looking
the
at all-
young girl sport.
Yeah, that's the young girl sport. All the white girls are playing. That's the kind of crap that I had to fight.
Yeah.
You know, I had to fight not getting put into home economics class. I had to fight to take chemistry, biology, and physics in high school.
Wow.
I walked into the counselor's office to sit down and take my courses for the last 2 senior years, and she started listing off sewing, typing. Again, Deb is notorious for getting up, putting her fists on the table, and leaning over. And I said, "My parents are teachers. I'm not coming home with home economics and typing.
Yeah.
It's physics, it's higher math, it's chemistry, and it's biology." And she was astounded. "Well, what are you going to do with that in life?" I said, "Get a job." That day, I made a vow never to learn how to type,
Yeah.
never to learn how to sew, and never to learn how to cook.
So even now, in all your marketing, you're sitting there with the 2 fingers going, tuck, 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 tuck. Fantastic.
Yeah,
That's right.
Can't sew, can't. Well, I mean, I have to cook, but
Yeah.
But do you see how subtle things like that?
Yeah.
Well, and you were talked about, you had some examples of subtle racism that you say you face more often than overt. Definite. Like, what are examples? Like, what would you consider to be subtle racism?
Being passed over for things. I noticed that the one thing that really got me once, it was Mother's Day. What the fuck? It was
Weird things show up on the show all the time.
really. It was Mother's Day,
Yeah.
and I was walking through the mall with my daughters, and there was someone standing out giving roses to all the mothers.
Yeah.
Every mother that passed got a rose except me.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I knew it. I knew it right then and there.
Now,
Right
was it
then.
because you were black, or was it because they didn't think you were a mother? Because I'm telling you, we've already talked about your age.
You're a
We-
shit disturber. You
I
know,
am a shit disturber.
Let me run with my racism, okay? Not the fact that I don't look like I'm a mother. Let me run with my fucking racism here.
Like, not only do you not look like a mother, even right now, you don't like you don't look like a grandmother. I can tell you that now.
You see, this is what I think.
Yeah.
This is what actually keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
Is that I have to stop and consider
Yeah.
that the person. It may not be racism. They may be just looking at me, going,
Yeah.
"Are those the kids she's babysitting?" Because one of them was white.
Yeah.
My eldest, very white child, and the other one, you know, she looked a mix, and it could have been I was babysitting them.
Yeah.
So-
But that's the problem with subtle racism, right? Like, is it racism or is there something else underlining?
Yeah, but it hurt
Yeah.
my heart. It
Yeah.
really did
For
because
sure.
I felt like, wait a minute, I'm walking here with kids, and you're handing out roses to all these mothers, you know. And then there are other things, you know, you're being passed up, and you know that there's like what I always said with my girlfriend. She said she told my best friend who was getting married not to invite me to the wedding because there won't be any other black people there. This was my best friend. To this day, I'm still friends with that girl, but the girl who said that is not friends with us at all.
No.
She told her, "Don't invite Deb." And now the girl that was getting married, you have to understand this, her name was exactly like mine except for the last name, which also started with an F. So we stood next to each other every day in school.
Right. Yeah.
We lived near each other. We were buddies. And this stupid friend of mine agreed and didn't invite me to the wedding.
What? She didn't invite
She did
you
not-
because of what some other girl said?
Yes.
See, to me, that's not subtle racism. That's racism.
Fast
There's
forward
nothing
3
subtle
years
about
later,
that.
that same girl who said that is now living with a black guy. Go figure.
How does she do that? Like, she
What-
can't invite her husband to anything.
Well,
What goes on in people's heads that you're saying don't
Yeah.
invite? And this is and the worst part is the girl who said that. You remember when I said people would get on the bus and they'd say nigger, nigger?
yeah.
She was one of the girls who stood up to protect me after
Yeah.
a while. But yet she turns around and tells one of our friends, don't invite me to the wedding because there will be nobody else black there and Deb will feel uncomfortable.
Oh, so maybe it wasn't racism. Maybe it was oh, really?
Disturbing again?
I am.
No,
I
that's,
am.
that's racism.
Yeah.
100%. But I mean, I've been told I've been not invited to things, but that's just because they were like, no, he's a fucking idiot. Don't
Yeah.
invite him. So
I've been not invited to buffets before, and I think it's clear why.
I think it has to do something with the beard as well, too.
Yeah.
So it's all sorts of subtle little things that, you know, that you see you being passed over for things. Black don't crack. Like, really,
Yeah.
today was the first time I ever heard that, and that was from you.
yeah, black don't crack. Like,
Yeah.
what is that? What process is going through your head?
Okay, and just so we're all aware, all our little white audience out there, what she means by that is they don't end up wrinkling and getting cracked skin and stuff like that. Okay,
Moisturize, you white
found that
people.
out.
Moisturize. Dove soap and moisturize your skin. You won't crack. Sheesh. So yeah, I'm thinking just recently, anything that I've come across, if I have, I've just totally ignored it.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have something that was quite interesting, actually, and this was very, very evident. I was standing in line, and the person who was standing at the counter finished at the counter. There was an East Asian person, I believe, or Indian Pakistani or something. She was at the counter and seemed to have gotten into disagreement with the person, left the counter, so I went up to the counter. What do you think happens? She comes back, she's got some papers in her hands. She hits me. She hit me.
What?
Yes, she hit me on my shoulder and told me,
That bitch needs a fucking throat punch.
well, let me tell you, I got onto her.
Yeah.
And I told her, but the thing was, the way she hit me and the look in her eye, you are a servant, move. I am not kidding, guys.
And I'm sorry, where was this?
This was a place that I was working at, doing some work, yeah.
And recently.
Just recently, 2 weeks ago. So then I saw the same girl again, and I confronted her
Yeah.
after. I said, you hit me, and that was not fair. What do you think this is, that I'm your servant, that you could just brush me away? Then she claims, I don't speak English. Fuck. That throat punch.
What language do you speak? I'll speak that for
Yeah,
you.
that is the thing that I find.
Yeah.
People use that excuse, but I can understand that she was upset with whatever she was dealing with. But I'm not kidding. This was not my imagination. The look
Yeah.
on her face and the look in her eye was
Yeah.
that you are lower than me. Get out of here. This
Yeah.
is my spot. Not like, excuse me, I came back. I stepped away for a minute. She hit me.
Yeah.
Hit me. It's
Yeah.
like, what's that?
And that might, because you're saying this person was fairly new to Canada?
Yes.
So then that could very well have been the culture that they were raised in and stuff like that. Because I know many of the countries that I've been to, I'm third class citizen in some of the countries that I've
Yeah.
visited.
Definitely being black. I'm third
Yeah.
class, Saudi Arabia, all those places.
Yeah.
So I've had family living and working. They come back and say, God, if you're black,
Yeah.
just don't even think you have any rights there. And
No.
and I'm sure to a certain degree, because of the complexion and
Yeah.
her eye color, I know exactly where she was from in India, and they have a lot of Portuguese infused into them. So
Yeah.
for some of them, there's a belief they're lighter skin. Okay, it boils down to this. Most cultures where you have dark skin, the lighter your skin, even your own culture raises you to a prominence of status.
Yeah.
I was born as a baby. I was what you call one of those beautiful babies. I had very soft hair,
Right.
very light complexion, pleasant features. My mom would say people were always on about me. What a beautiful baby! And I was always promoted. I have a brother who's after me, much, much darker, like this. He was not promoted.
Yeah.
But look how pretty she is. Look how soft her hair is. Look at the nose. So you have that in all cultures. So for this woman in particular, she was of that culture where she was several castes among others.
Right.
So she felt that she was obliged to hit me because as far as she's
Yeah.
concerned, I'm a lower caste in her country.
Yeah.
Right.
And ideally, more of my skin color had more to do with my skin color than it has to do with me being black culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So even within our own culture, and this is something I have fought for years within my own family, that you can't say one is prettier than the other.
No.
I had friends of mine. Their first child was their black couple. Their first child was very, very light skinned.
Right.
Second child, this color again.
Yeah.
You know what the dad told me? He says, I don't think his wife loves the second one as much because he's so dark.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, they're both black parents.
Yes.
That's okay.
This is what
That
goes on
confuses me.
within, talking about culture, this is what goes on within our own culture. The
Yeah.
fairer you are, the straighter your nose, the thinner your lips, the straighter your hair is, or whatever,
Yeah.
you're considered prized. But again, that's the media. Every time I turn on TV now and I look at commercials, Royal Bank commercials, most of the girls have natural black hair in it.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for those things. Are they really starting to represent who we are, or are they giving an image to young black girls of this is what you're supposed to look like? You've
Yeah.
got the straight hair, whatever else that goes along with it. No, our hair is not naturally straight. There's so many beautiful things that you can do with it. I don't know if you guys noticed, I shaved all mine off from the
Yeah.
last time you saw me.
Yes.
I walked into a barber shop. I said, how much? He says, $25. I sat down. I said, take it all off, baby. And I just watched like this much hair fall to the
Oh yeah, because your hair that day that we met you, it was out,
yeah.
it was wild, and I'm like, that's cool. And then the next thing you know, I'm seeing an Instagram shot of you with this haircut. I was like,
Yeah.
did I add the right person?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I found like I used to work with like a lot of youth. So in that, obviously, like I had some black youth that I worked with, and I learned the one day that like black people can't just go to any barber shop. Like they have a specific way that their hair has to be cut, and not everybody knows how to do that.
Exactly.
What? Okay,
this-
sorry, somebody got to educate me on this.
So some kid, one of the boys came from a different city. So he said, I need to find somebody who can cut my hair. So I'm like, well, okay, well, jump in, go to First Choice. No, motherfucker, I ain't going in, right? And he explained
You
to
ever
me.
see any black person in a First Choice commercial?
Well, but that's
No.
the thing. But again, like this is ignorance, right? Like I don't get it. And you know, he's like, listen, he said you can't to cut a black person's hair. It's different than cutting any other hair. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about? It's hair. Like it's hair. And like I started talking to other black people and workers, and they're like, yeah, you can't just go to a regular. Somebody needs to know how to cut.
Your root goes straight down like that. That's
Okay.
why you don't get razor burns.
Okay.
Our root hooks. That's why the men will get razor burns. So
Okay.
different grades on the hair and how you cut it. I know when I was living in Montreal, I would ask them, have you cut black hair before? No, I haven't. Well, see you. You're not dealing with it.
Oh, okay. Now here's my ignorance coming out. Is it because it's so curly all the time? Like, so you're saying it hooks in
Yeah,
under the skin, where ours, white boys, it goes straight in, and so then it comes out curly.
Curly,
and,
yeah.
Okay.
So if I had flat iron my hair and it was all straight, right from
Yeah.
the root, I can go to any hairdresser as long as they don't wet it. Because once you
Right.
wet it, the curls start back.
Okay.
And the curls are different than a white girl's curls.
Right.
They're more tighter rings. So what you're pulling and what you're cutting might be different
Okay.
altogether. So it boils down to a little bit of style as well too. And I'm actually, I really should ponder this now. I'm starting to wonder if it's more of a cultural thing as well.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to wonder. But I just walked into a barber shop and I just
Yeah.
shave it all off.
Maybe it's the great black myth.
Well, I used to,
I don't know.
I don't know, but in Montreal, the barber shop I went to was a bunch of Italian guys.
Yeah.
They freaked out the first day I walked in there.
Yeah.
It's like, no girl cuts her hair. You're
Yeah.
a woman. You need beautiful long hair. And
Yeah.
they're on and they're arguing about it.
Yeah.
And the guy was a black guy, and he shaved completely bald all the time, and that's where he used to go. And I sat down, and they were very reluctant to shave it
Yeah.
all off, and they shaved it off, and I stayed with them. But
Because little girls are supposed to look like little girls.
hey, I do my own thing, and
Yeah.
And I think this is all part of self-confidence because
Yeah.
this haircut. I mean, people look at me and
Yeah.
I get questions like, "Why'd you cut off your hair?"
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
It actually was hurting me. It was a pain in the butt.
I don't have
take
to worry about taking so much fucking care of it.
A dime size of shampoo, and I'm
Well, and
done.
And here I am. I'm growing mine out.
And you have the kind of head that it looks good.
Yeah,
Right?
I can
Like,
get away with it.
I tried to shave my hair once, right? No, I look like a fucking like monster. Like I don't know, like no, I did. I have this weird like cave in here, and then it comes up into like a fucking peak thing. Like,
Your mama dropped you on your head?
no, like I have Neanderthal in my blood, right? So that's the Neanderthal coming out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I wish I had a head I could shave my head. Or,
Life is just a lot easier with it.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, you know what? We've had a lot of discussions about different things that have happened with racism, subtle racism, overt racism, stuff like that. So, want to ask you a few questions. Like, is it racist? Is it not racist? Or, yes, there's the racial undertones. There's the outright racist comments, but is it still all right because of the context that it's in? So, one movie that we talk about a lot is one of my favorites, Blazing Saddles.
Oh, gosh.
Okay? We all know the different lines that are in that movie. Is that a racist movie? In your opinion? We know you don't speak for the entire black community out there, but in your opinion?
No, because if that's the case, then you would have to jump to, was it Seth, the movie that just recently where they had Indians in it?
Okay.
Was it, who's the guy who does modern, not,
Are you talking about 1,000 Ways to Die in the West?
yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Do you see
Okay.
the similarities
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
both those movies? And you see
Exactly.
the same shit came up 30, 40 years later?
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
It's a movie, people.
Yeah.
They're poking fun at our stupidity. They're poking fun at our lack of understanding. The same thing with that. It's
Right.
just
It's context.
yeah. So I don't. I can't. No, I don't. It's just all context. It's a stupid movie.
Yeah.
It's enough. You have to sit down at a movie and just take it for what it is.
Right.
Entertainment. You want something educational, go watch a documentary. You want something that poses a question on life, go watch a documentary.
Yeah.
Don't watch a movie that was made to make money.
Right. Okay, well, I do have another movie for you because this one's been up in the news a lot recently due to the fact that different people have commented on it and people do not like the comments that are coming back from it. The movie Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr.
God. Okay. Okay.
Okay, where he did the full-on blackface,
Okay.
but he explained that he was perpetrating a stupid white person who thought that that would be okay, and he actually gets to play this white person that does this. Okay.
I didn't get into that one at all.
No?
Because I actually
It
found
is-
it stupid.
Yes, it
Yeah.
definitely was a
Yeah.
stupid movie,
Yeah.
but people are giving Robert Downey Jr. a whole shitload of grief for playing a white guy who's pretending to be a black guy,
Yeah.
right? And so therefore he actually has to go through and do the whole blackface thing. So what's your take on that? Should Robert Downey Jr. have gone and said, no, guys, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that shit? Or,
Is it making a comeback now because of this whole blackface thing?
Yes.
I believe it is,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people saying, no, he shouldn't have done it because here he is, he's actually doing blackface himself. But what he was saying and what other people have said is that yes, he was having to do blackface, but it's because the character he was playing was doing blackface. To basically exemplify how stupid this is, because even the actual black actor in there is sitting there going, are you fucking stupid? Do you think that's really the way we talk?
You see, again, it's out of context. People
Yeah.
will jump on it just like 1,000 Ways to Die without knowing why that was done.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes movies, there was something about a jacket that was worn
Oh.
on one of the apes, one of the children apes or something like that.
Right.
That was another big controversy. That was the white person who brought that up because it had something to do with
It's always the white
jacket
person.
Yeah.
on someone, and they said they alluded it to racism and him being a monkey and all this stuff.
It's fucking Planet of the Apes.
I know people are pulling at things that
Yeah.
they're just looking for things to
They're looking for racism.
Yeah, they're looking for it.
Okay, so with that said, because I think we're all in agreement at this point, there's so many people that are looking for racism. They're looking for racism. We had an earlier chat that we believe it has a lot to do with the media, right? Because the media keeps jamming racism down our throat.
Yes.
You've been around a little bit longer than we have.
Thanks, guys.
It's true. It's true. You know, I can't lie.
How rude.
And we don't hold it against you.
Thank you.
But you have more experience than us.
I like that.
You
There
may
we
have been
go.
around longer than us, but you look a lot better than we do.
Yes.
Please, thanks, guys.
Yes. You've talked about racism that you've experienced when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different nowadays? Because right now in the media, it's telling us that, oh my God, racism is running rampant and everybody out there is a fucking racist. Do you think it's better?
It was worse when I was growing up.
So it has gotten better in your point of view.
From my point of view, it has gotten better, and I believe the reason, despite the amount of stuff coming in from the media, is that you have the flip side of it where you will hear good stories.
Right.
And if you look for those good stories, you can balance off what you're seeing.
Right.
And again, this is the American media pushing things. You'll see like a black man rescuing a little white child or something like that. And that's them pushing that. But that is a normal life for us here in Canada.
Yeah.
Look around you. How many interracial children do you see?
Oh, tons.
Tons.
Yeah.
You barely. I saw a little redhead in a stroller as it was coming up to your house, and I said, "Yeah, I'm in real white land."
Yeah.
You don't see redheads. You don't.
No.
Despite my grandson,
Yeah.
but you don't see redheads in my neighborhood.
What, you got a grandson with red hair?
Yeah,
What?
red hair and blue eyes. God was so gracious to me. God is just making me live this all over again. Are you his nanny? Are you his babysitter? Yeah, I'm going through that again.
Man.
Okay.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So you say it's gotten better.
Yes.
Do you think it will ever go away?
No, we're human beings. The only time this is going to go away is if you reach an utopian society where we're just cerebral and we're not.
Yeah.
But they say we're working towards that. Like they say in another 100 years, there won't be as like really racist because there's so much intertwining and intermingling, and the world is so small now with everybody being able to get everywhere easily that, you know, they've talked about redheads and blondes. They're going to die off.
Yes.
Blue eyes are going to die off.
Yes.
Right? The extremes on both ends are going to die off, and eventually you're going to have kind of this one.
Just one purple
like-
people.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, they actually
you know-
showed a picture of what that person would be like, and believe it or not, it actually looks like my eldest daughter.
Right.
You're not sure what nationality she is. Her skin is very fair. Her hair is long and straight, and that's what they're going to look like.
Right.
I remember a number of years ago when I was 10 years back, I was at Concordia University for my nephew's football game. And I'm sitting in the stands, and a lot of the players, they're in their 20s, and, you know, some of them have kids. Quite a few kids were there, and all the hanger-on girls. There was not one white child.
Yeah.
Every child was mixed. They were either mixed with Oriental or mixed with black or black and Oriental. There was not one white child there. And I looked around and I said, this is the future of the world, what I'm looking at right now. Because now that you have these children, and these are the millennials that we're grumbling about, but they are seeing things a bit differently because they're coming from mixed families.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, in my family, my daughters know about racism. We've spoken about it. I'm free with, say, stupid white people or whatever.
Yeah.
Their dad is white.
Yeah.
He'll say stupid white people too, or
Yeah.
he'd actually say, what a stupid black guy, what did he do that? But
Yeah.
they're kind of caught with, I don't know if they're caught, they're really seeing both sides of it, and I think that makes them for better people.
Yeah.
However, people who, again, these are my experiences.
Yes.
I have had my children been called half-breeds,
Yeah.
not by white people,
Right.
by black people.
Right.
Yeah.
My children are half-breeds.
Well, and it kind of brings up another thing. Sorry, I got like an ADD type thing going on in my head. But one of my favorite quotes, because I was going through a lot of YouTube videos to find people that, you know, were actually trying to squash the whole racism thing. You know, instead of people calling out racism, going, yo, shut the fuck up. Enough's enough, right? And you know, because basically I was getting sick and tired of being called a fucking racist just because I was white,
Yeah.
right? that really bothered me, because I don't really give a damn what color you are, what religion you are, or anything like that. As long as you're nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. It's that simple. But I came across the one video that had Morgan Freeman talking to, and I can't remember his fucking name. It was one of those like 2020 type things,
Yeah.
right? And the guy ended up going and saying, "So, what do you think of Black History Month?" And he's like, "I don't. What do you mean? Like, shouldn't we have Black History Month to, help get rid of all racism and stuff like that?" And he's like, "No. You know how? Well, then how are we going to end racism? Stop talking about it." And Morgan Freeman goes and says, "Listen, I know you as this person. You know me as Morgan Freeman. I'm going to stop calling you a white guy. You're going to stop calling me a black guy. And we're just going to go, yep, this is Jim and this is Morgan." And that's it.
Yeah. It's bringing attention to it all the time. It's like looking at that boo-boo and pulling that Band-Aid off. Oh, God, it's still festering.
Yeah.
Put the Band-Aid back on it with some media coverage, and
Yeah.
it's still festering. And I guess for me, I've seen my fair share of racism, but I don't wrap it and incorporate it into my life, because I accept everybody as who they are, like meeting both of you.
Yeah.
I put my misconceptions away within 3 to 4 seconds. And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm familiar with people who look like this, and no, they're not, all bad people.
Yeah.
And so I think by not speaking about it doesn't mean that it's not happening or you're ignoring it. I think you're coming to an acceptance that it is what it is. We can deal with it, but we can also get rid of it if we take the time to ask that simple question: who are you? What are you all about?
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking what a great segue, too, because right now we have a whole lot of questions that we want to ask.
Oh, no.
Yes.
It's asshole question.
Yes, it's
time.
asshole question time.
I'm ready for
Okay.
you boys.
So, one of the things that we like to do here, especially when we have guests of different cultures or different demographics, because I think hopefully in a couple weeks we're actually having a drag queen in here. Yeah, we actually surprised our wives by actually going, "Hey, we're taking you out for dinner and entertainment tonight." And they're like, "Oh, fantastic! Where are we going? The movies?" And no. Well, where are we going? We're not telling you. And then we took them to a drag queen show. But
I'm a big RuPaul
It was
fan.
a, it was a,
so
it was
I
a blast.
yeah,
I
it was
gotta
an absolute blast.
I got to check this out.
Yeah.
I'm a big RuPaul fan and cross-dressers. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But so what we do is we like to go through the different stereotypes that people are talking about different cultures.
Wait, let me get up and dance for you.
Oh,
I'm really good at that.
Well, you've got good rhythm, right?
yeah,
I got the
because
best rhythm.
black people have the best rhythm
Oh
ever.
my God, we can
Yeah.
outdance you people any day.
Okay.
Oh, we could out.
Wait, you say you people?
Yeah,
What do you mean, you people?
You people. We can outdance you people any day. Oh my God, the stereotypes are incredible. And
Yeah.
this is the subtle racism I grew
Yeah.
up with. Dad,
Yeah.
you can play basketball. Go out there.
Yeah.
The fuck makes you think 5'3"
Yeah.
can play basketball? Or you can dance.
Yeah.
I used to tell people I have 2 left feet.
Yeah,
Just because, for that simple reason, they assume that I could dance. I'd say I have 2 left feet. I can't dance.
once upon a time I could dance, and then I lost my rhythm. Honestly, as soon as I got fat, I lost my rhythm. But,
Oh no.
so yeah, and so the whole idea of this is we ask these what we like to call our asshole questions, right? These are the questions that either it's the stereotype of, oh, well, all black people are like this, or whatever other culture. We're going to say black because that's who we're dealing with today. But it's also the questions that people want to ask but are too scared to ask because they might be considered a racist just for asking these questions, right? So we want to find out if some of these stereotypes are true, some of our asshole questions are true, and if they're not true, where do you think it came from? Where did this stereotype come from? So first and foremost, and I know we've already discussed this, is it true that all black people love fried chicken and watermelon?
Oh my gosh. I was telling Nate and Greg earlier, when I was growing up, chicken wings would be thrown out the back of the grocery store.
Yes.
And different cultures would go and pick it up. Back in the days of slavery, from what I researched, the masses would keep all the chicken and throw the chicken wings. And just as I told you, a bunch of guys sitting around a pot of oil,
Yeah.
let's throw those damn chicken wings into that oil.
Yeah.
So that's where the stereotype comes from, and it really, all these stereotypes come from we were on the lower end of the food chain.
Right.
And this is what we had to eat. And that's the stereotype. The watermelon was the same thing. You're picking it out there, you're going to eat it.
Right.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
But do you love it? Do you love fried chicken and watermelon?
Well, for a long time growing up,
I'm not going to lie. I'm a fat guy. I obviously love it.
I do too, but I got to tell you, growing up, I was embarrassed
Yeah.
to actually eat watermelon around white people because of that stereotype.
Because of the
Right.
Because some idiot would always say something. There's always an idiot who would say something.
Yeah.
The same thing for chicken. Even now, I still hear that stereotype. I hear if you go into the housing projects
Yeah.
in Toronto on Tuesday, the Kentucky Fried Day chicken thing,
Okay.
you'll see that's what they eat.
Yeah.
And so that stereotype still persists. My fiance, is American.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he was married.
No, that was the
That's
other one.
different.
Yeah. But I arrived in Denver a couple of years ago, and I said, "Hey, Cliff," I said, "I'm really hungry. I want to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken here in Ontario, in Denver, because they have biscuits."
Yeah.
Do you know what he said to me? "I'm not taking you there. Only black people eat Kentucky Fried Chicken." That's what he said to me. Hang on, and then I asked him to buy me a pack of smokes.
Yeah.
He says, "What do you want?" The only thing I know I could say that's similar here is Pall Malls.
Yeah.
He says, "Yeah, that's what black people smoke. You want menthol as well?" This is coming from a white guy I was going to marry. Do you
Yeah.
see the stereotypes he had? He said
Yeah.
he was not taking me to KFC because that's where black people eat. Yeah,
Yeah.
simple as that. And Pall Malls.
I'm surprised. Have you looked at me?
Yeah. This was my relationship for 12 years with this guy. It was
Oh.
like constantly amazed at the stereotypes that he had
Right.
about black people. And like, you want to marry me, but you won't allow me to KFC because that's black food. You don't want me to smoke Pall Malls because only black people smoke Pall Malls.
Yeah.
It was confusing. but
Okay. So
I
can-
like
can-
watermelon, and
you,
I
you
like
do like
fried-
watermelon.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
But I
Would
eat
you
it
say
now.
that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, okay. Well, then on that topic, we got to know KFC or Popeyes.
KFC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah.
I was curious. You know, I
Yeah.
wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What about all black women are angry?
I know.
The angry black woman.
Angry black woman. Well,
You're the perfect one to speak to this.
oh my God. I had to hold that angry black woman in a few months ago. I was in a relationship with someone, and a few things happened. So there's a road you could take, two different paths.
Yeah.
The very nice, compassionate, spiritual path, or I'm gonna fuck you up, you fucking asshole. This is what you fucking did to me? Well, fuck you, and the
Yeah.
horse you rode in on.
Yeah.
And I had to sit for a few days to think about this.
Yeah.
Do I take the angry black woman that's stereotypical and which I can really go off on, or do I take truly who I am and
Yeah.
not what society expects of me?
Right.
And this is the path that I've, more than recently, I've chosen to take. My parents told us when we were very young that you represent pretty much everybody that's black.
Yeah.
If you are their first encounter with someone black, that is how blacks are going to be judged. We had a kid come down from North Bay, this would have been in the 70s, for a football, thing, and he stayed at our place. He said the only black people he'd ever seen was on the show Good Times.
JJ.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my
Dynamite.
He
I love that show.
He was amazed that we weren't like that we weren't
Yeah.
living in an apartment. My parents were professionals, that we
Yeah.
lived in. He was amazed.
Yeah.
Amazed.
You
Then
never watched The Jeffersons?
I don't think they had it up in North Bay.
Oh, okay.
That's a very white community. I'm just telling you now.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
lived
know.
up there.
Yeah.
So we took him out partying,
Yeah.
and he again was amazed at the cultural mix of people.
Yeah.
I laid him, but
Yeah.
but after that, he ended up moving to Toronto. He
Right.
contacted us a few years ago, and he said, "I'm done with North Bay. I
Yeah.
liked what the culture had to offer," and he stayed with us for almost a week for football camp, and he got indoctrinated on not only black culture, but West Indian culture, but also how open people can be and understanding.
Well, you quickly went and talked about this is this guy's first experience with black people. I know Nate knows this story, and he's laughed his ass off every time I've told it. My very, very first experience with a black person, I'd never seen a black person before. You know, mind you, I was like just about going into kindergarten at the time. Okay, so let's, folks, before you start jumping all over me and calling me a stupid racist, okay, I was like 4 or 5 years old. Okay, never seen a black person in my life. Well, like we had like the one channel that we got to watch, you know, when it wasn't He-Man, because Mom said that was evil and I wasn't allowed to watch that.
He-Man was
but,
great.
I know, but Mom was a big time Bible thumper. So, anyways, I had never seen a black person in my entire life until I moved to this one spot, and my next door neighbor was black, and I just go, that's interesting. You know, I didn't think anything of it really. You know, and then the one day my mom and we got in a little bit of a fight, and I said, that's it, I'm running away. So she helped me pack my bags, and away I went. You know, she knew I wasn't going to get fucking far, you know, and I started going up the street. Well, I honestly thought that the little boy next door was chocolate. I honestly thought he was like made of chocolate. Well, so the little chocolate boy, he comes out, and he starts walking with me, as you know, with his skateboard, and he's like, where are you going? I'm running away from home. I'm like, yeah, where are you going? I'm going to my grandma's. Where does she live? I don't know. You know, and then after a short little walk, we realized I better go home. Well, I came home, and I'm all excited because, you know, the little chocolate boy next door started talking to me. I have a new friend and all this good stuff. So then once my mom and I made up and all this good stuff, you know, I start running out the door, and I'm like, bye, Mom, see you later. She's like, where are you going? I'm going to see a little chocolate boy next door. And I go running out the door, and I come up and I knock on the door because he's not outside anymore.
Oh my God.
And I can hear it now in the back of, you know, my memories and stuff like this, but I knocked on the door, and the chocolate mom answered, and you know, I'm like, hi, is the little chocolate boy home? Just as my mom rounds the corner, she's like, oh. And she's like, I'm so sorry, we haven't explained this yet. And she's like, he's upstairs. Okay. You know, and away I went, you know. So that was honestly my very first experience with a black person. I thought they were chocolate. And then we actually had to sit down to explain about skin pigmentation and stuff like this. So,
well,
yeah.
mine was that gentleman on the airplane. My very first encounter with someone white.
Yeah.
The older person on an airplane. It's all what makes your experiences.
Yeah.
What your first experiences with someone outside of your race.
Well, then, yeah, because what would have been like if that guy on the airplane was an asshole
Exactly.
to you, right?
Yeah.
I may be sitting here right now saying, yeah, you two guys
Yeah.
are racist. Your whole
Yeah.
country is racist. You're all racist. What am I even doing here?
Yeah.
I may not even have been in this line of work because this line of work has me dealing with all different cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the things that could shut you down and close you off. And you have this agreement that you've made with yourself that all white people are this and all and this race is that.
Yeah.
So it could have gone sideways
For
that
sure.
day on that airplane.
For sure.
So if I got this correct, what you're saying is stop looking at people for who they or what they look like and who they actually are.
Exactly.
Wow, if only everybody could actually think that way, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You see, but that helps me with the angry black woman because they don't think I'm maybe the Look at her. She looks so sweet and kind. I'll go
I'll
upside
stab you,
down.
bitch.
Yeah, down the other side of you real fast and real hard. Yeah.
Okay. So we kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, and I'm taking it that this is false. But we got to ask because everywhere we look, black people seem to be dominating. Are all black people athletic?
Damn, boys. Damn. Oh, my Lord. Guys, I've pondered this for all my life because I've been involved in sports all my life, from field hockey to track and field, soccer, no basketball, volleyball instead, the UGG sport.
Yeah.
Big on sport.
And I gotta tell you, I don't know if it's me, but there were the only people better than me, girls in sports, were lesbians.
Right.
Why, I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and they were white. Why, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know why. Those were always the girls to outrun me, outscore me.
Yeah.
See, I
As-
always hear that lesbians are really good at cleaning carpets.
Yeah.
Which I've never,
I don't know.
I've never understood that. but I
Yeah.
just-
Why didn't they go into maid services? I don't. Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not even going to answer that one. I'm not even going to go there on that one. I'm not even going to go. So, I think it has to do. Okay, we could get really crazy with this. So, okay, you've got your white affluent family. They're keeping their kids inside, studying them because dad's a big CEO of a company and that's where you're headed. I hate to say this, a family in the projects, send your kids outside to play. The apartment's too small. It's too this. They're honing
In
their
poor neighborhoods, kids are out playing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're honing their skills.
Right.
Whereas you're going to keep your child there because you think he's going to be the next CEO or the next Trump. And they're not honing those skills. So it's a matter of honing skills. And also, in the black community, it's one of the avenues to get ahead.
Right.
And so there's a lot of focus on honing those skills. I read an article, and I could get shot for this one. Our muscle construct is different. You're talking the gluteus maximus in terms of running and jumping out of the blocks.
Right.
So we are predominant in that industry. But you know what? No. Look at tennis. Look at swimming. Let's start looking at all the other sports. If you want to say that blacks are really good athletes, look at the other sports. That's the only ones they've let us into. Very few
Yeah.
black swimmers, divers. We now have the Williams girls and maybe a couple others. What other sports? Archery,
Hockey.
Hockey.
Yeah.
Even that is still hard for them to break. And God forbid you're good as a black
Well-
player in hockey. It's like, how did that happen?
Well, and one of the stereotypes I hear, right, and as you said, body.
The muscle construct.
Thank you. That's what we're going to go with. Dumb white boy again. A reason that a lot of black people aren't actually into hockey, other than they don't fucking like it, is the fact that they have weak ankles. Do you think that's a possibility, or is that just another one of these ignorant stereotypes? Because I know there are a couple of
also
black
have
hockey
black-
players. I don't follow hockey,
Yeah.
but I know there's a couple of black hockey players, and they're doing pretty fucking good. Well, first off, they're in the NHL, so they got to be good.
Yeah, I think it's an avenue. It's very expensive, as you know.
Yeah.
To raise someone through hockey. So
Oh,
that's
fuck
one
yeah.
thing there. The weak ankles, I could only answer for myself, and damn, they're weak. Damn, they're weak. They are weak. They're always at some point in my life being taped up because I've twisted them. So I can't really say that. But another thing my brother told me, his doctor told him that majority of black people have flat feet.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, no. You know what? I think I heard that before too.
That we have flat feet. Well, I got into a huge argument with my brother about that. He says, no, my doctor says we all have flat feet.
Well, if a doctor says, it's got to be true.
Well,
But, I read a study years ago, and this is not me, this is a study I read. So what I read was that there was the idea that the reason why the black community, black men in particular, are so dominant in sports and dominant in physical things is because during slavery time, the majority of the weaker genes would have died off. They wouldn't have survived being slaves. So only the strong, dominant genes
yeah,
survive that.
yeah.
So it's not a surprise that the majority of black people now are the dominant ones that when it comes to physicality, being physical, right? And that's one theory that I've heard of as well when it comes to that.
And as shitty as that situation is, if this study is actually correct,
But
well, hey, that kind of worked out
but
in the long run.
it happens in the animal kingdom, so
Yeah.
we're that. So I actually would look there that, yeah, those genes died out. I mean, you put these people for generations to work,
Yeah.
hard labor. I mean, yeah, eventually, they're going to...
The weaker genes are going to
Yeah.
fade out,
Yeah.
and the stronger
Exactly.
ones are going to survive. it.
And plus, you're feeding them chicken feet and chicken wings and watermelon.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really. The strong got to survive at that point because that's your fucking diet. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Chicken wings and
Yeah.
chicken beaks and chicken feet and watermelon.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, and you know what? We really don't have that many more stereotype or asshole questions to really ask because surprisingly, there's not that many on the internet.
Well,
We've had a quick look, but I think you've got some for us.
yeah, the appropriation things.
Okay.
So we chuckled about the chicken wings.
Yeah.
Hair. What is it with these white girls doing all these braids in their hair?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I
They
don't really
laughed at
know.
our hair for years. We were afraid to wear our hair in braids because the girls
Yeah.
would comment on it. Now you turn around, they're all getting their hair braided. And some of them are curling it and perming it and making it afros. I grew
Yeah.
up in the 70s. White people around me with afros. You must have to work really hard to get your hair kinky so it could be an afro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
What
Yeah.
are you trying to get at?
Yeah.
Are you trying like? And I
Now-
wish I had the guts to ask people those questions at this
Yeah.
time. Why are you getting collagen in your lips? You spent years laughing at me, calling me nigger lips, and now
Yeah.
you're pumping up your lips.
Well,
Yeah.
and all the white girls getting the booty now too.
Exactly.
Right.
And the tanning and the
Yeah.
everything that
Tanning.
you laughed at us about. What is us? You're paying money to become us.
So,
Right.
and actually, this brings up another huge question in my mind. Is appropriation really wrong? Because I kind of, the way I'm kind of seeing it, right, is people are wanting to do this. People are wanting to go and it's like, oh, hey, here's a hairstyle that, black people traditionally have, stuff like that. I like it. I want to use it. So if it's because you like it and you want to do it, is it a bad thing? I could see if you're fucking making fun. Look, watch me do these cornrows.
Yeah.
I'm going to be funny. Is that a bad thing?
You got a really good point there because I'm
Yeah.
actually stuck. I am so stuck on this. I have a very strong affinity to Oriental clothing
Yeah.
and to Indian clothing. So
Yeah.
most times if you see me, I'm wearing a tunic or cotton pants.
Yeah.
And there's some pieces that I really, really want
Yeah.
to move to wearing. But the moment I think of putting them on, I go back to appropriation.
Who am I going to
Yeah.
offend?
Who am I going to offend by wearing a sari?
Yeah.
I want to wear a sari. I want to show off my midriff at my age. I
Yeah.
want to wear bright yellow colors and sparkles and all that. I want to be dressed like that for
Yeah.
one occasion. But who's going to get pissed at me? And more
The
important,
dumb white girls.
yeah, the hug
That's
girl.
who's going to get
The
pissed off at
But-
The Uggs are coming for you.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why am I uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Well,
doing
isn't that sad?
Yeah,
Isn't
it
it too
is.
bad? Like if I look at a black person or I look at whoever, like, I mean, I style a lot of stuff. I think after what would be quote unquote considered the black culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm wearing my hat backwards right now. I always wear my hat backwards.
Yeah.
Is that cultural appropriation?
No, that's Samuel L. Jackson appropriation. All you need is a Kanga hat now.
I had a professor who says there's only two types of guys that wear their hats backwards: back catchers and assholes. Which one are you?
Oh my god!
Right. So, but or like I like to wear baggier pants.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that like like I like the style. I like the look. I like the
But do you know where the baggy pants came from?
Actually, please tell us.
Prison. They weren't
Yeah.
allowed to wear belts.
right.
And
Right.
that's where you get the pants falling down.
Well,
Do you want to appropriate that?
and honestly, that's the one thing that's always killed me. And I don't really care what race you are, what your skin color is, or anything like that. For fuck's sakes, pull up your pants. I don't want to see your fucking underwear.
Exactly.
Right? Like that part kills me.
But
You
see,
know?
I'm the opposite, right? Like I'm not ready to go white with my pants. I'm not ready to wear it up around my belly button.
No,
No,
no.
but a belt. But
Yeah.
I think what happened at some point, you had, it came through the music. It
Right.
gave the okay to step it outside of the black culture, and white guys started wearing their pants down and
Yeah.
a lot of the other things because it came through. Again, we're going to talk music and Elvis
Yeah.
Presley and all that. That was a lot of shit back then.
Yeah.
But it came through that. But it gave the general population the okay to dress like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Before we saw, quote unquote, the skanky girls on the video,
Yeah.
I would never have thought of wearing a belly top.
Yeah.
But they're all wearing. Oh, I don't wear a belly top, but just to give you an example. But they're all wearing.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
No, you don't wear a belly top. No, don't put on. No. And so, but you're given the okay,
Yeah.
and then it's okay to be okay. So, I consider appropriation. You're white, and you're going to give a Aboriginal art show,
Yeah.
or you're white and you're going to carve African statues.
But what if that's what you like? You respect it. Like, see,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
I respect
Yeah.
that. But then you have a majority of people who say, who the fuck are you to be making black statues? What do you know about black art?
Yeah.
What do you know about African art?
And then it's funny when they actually come out and school you on it.
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, that person
Yeah.
could just be white.
Yeah.
They're physically white, but they're of African nationality, and it's a culture. So it's a music back in the days of Elvis and all that. That was definite appropriation there. There's
Right.
no two, because again, the subtle racism, well, not subtle, the overt racism in the U.S. The
Yeah.
blacks weren't being, the music wasn't being played.
Yeah.
Elvis saw
And then
a way-
Elvis took your music and it got played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and we've seen that. I grew up in an era of Sam Cooke and all these people that couldn't even get on an airplane. They couldn't even get on a bus. Sam Cooke was, I think he was shot or hit by a car, and no ambulance will pick him up because
Yeah.
he was black.
Yeah.
So, but that's getting off track. So I see that in music. I see it in clothing. I see it in hair. I see it with the girls modifying their bodies to look more like me now, to have fuller lips. Most of them got a butt bigger than me. I lost my butt a long time ago. Old age
Yeah.
took that. So that it pisses me off because I don't cross that line.
Yeah.
I respect somebody else's culture, and I don't
Yeah.
cross that line.
Right.
But then again, how do I define my culture?
Yeah.
So, like, my house is a mismatch of everything, and you can't walk in. I have friends, you walk into their house, and you know you're in an all-black house.
Yeah.
Everything on the wall. Every
Yeah.
picture. Even Jesus is black.
Yeah.
My
Right.
house, Jesus is, my parents' house, Jesus is black.
Yeah.
So you know either. You walk into my house, and you couldn't tell who lives
Well, actually, we
there.
found out he's a brown guy, but that's another story.
From the Middle East. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, don't give me no blonde, blue-eyed Jesus. That ain't happening.
I know that's
there.
weird how that happened, eh? How people
Yeah.
fight over. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but
Yeah.
that's another weird one that Jesus is portrayed as a white man with long hair. It's like,
Well,
Yeah.
look at the culture you're dealing with. I
Yeah.
mean, you see, this is where you white guys get a really bad rap because of
Yeah.
your generations back.
Yes.
Where you were the ones who controlled everything. And
Yeah.
I mean everything. You controlled the women, you controlled the children, you controlled the businesses, you controlled the blacks, you controlled everybody.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes from. You are the ones who said, this is who Jesus is, this is who this
Yeah.
is, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And now we're, well, not just now, but we started breaking away from that.
Yeah.
Anybody who had half a brain realized that no, the world is not run by a bunch of white guys.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, we brought it up, and now I'm going to hit you with an extremely hard-hitting, sensitive question that has been bothering me for a while.
You're not going to ask about penis size, are you?
No, because it just makes me cry. But because I'm hung like a stud budgie. Okay. But reparations. Okay, you're seeing a lot of young black people going and saying, no, we need reparations because of slavery. My personal thought, okay, is hold on. First off, who are you getting the reparations from? The people that are around right now, and you're supposed to be getting it. Okay, well, first off, us that are around right now, we never had you as slaves. And last I checked, you weren't even born yet when slavery was around. So do we really need to be going there? You know, where they're wanting the, like, you know, I'm not saying, you know, we shouldn't be acknowledging it and saying, hey, look, some of our ancestors, because not all of us, or not all of our ancestors did that, but we need to acknowledge that, yes, this did happen. But why do you need to get a monthly paycheck because your great-great-grandfather was a slave?
And you see, this falls right back into the white stereotype.
Yeah.
That the black person is just living off of welfare.
Yeah.
And this is what they're promoting. What do
Yeah.
you need reparation for? I could see our indigenous the children
Yeah.
in the schools. That is reparation because this was a government-sponsored, backed thing.
Yes.
In the U.S., yes, to certain, yeah, of course, with the government. I mean, I could go on,
Yeah.
right down to marijuana, how the government, you know, messed with that because it was mostly black jazz players smoking
Yeah.
at that time. No, I don't see the need for reparation. If that were the case, I could start going back to my life and say that my great grandfather was brought over from Africa to
Yeah.
be a slave in the Caribbean. I
Yeah.
deserve money for that. What is this? What is this
Yeah.
money monthly? What is it going to do for you?
Nothing.
What is it going to do for you? Make you feel better? There's nothing you could done. It's
No.
done. It's the past. You have to move forward, and you can't lump everybody in the same boat and say you owe me this.
Yeah.
I owe you jack shit.
Yeah, because if that was the case, why aren't the Jews getting reparations?
That was my exact thing that I was
You know,
going
Or
to
the
go
native
with.
people who owned this land before we
Yeah.
even came.
Yeah.
Right?
Or how about all the brown people over in the Middle East that are still slaves?
Yeah.
You know?
So I don't see the point. I'm not in agreement with that. When I first heard of it, I said, no, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Reparation for what? So, and again, all this is going to do is make the white population and a lot of the black population as well too go, what? You're just going to sit home
Yeah.
and collect another check?
Yeah, and honestly, as we've discussed many times, it's going to help push that divide again,
Exactly.
because it's just going to piss more people off.
Exactly. And
You
not
know?
only white people, it will piss black people off as well too.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot. I've
Yeah.
worked really hard to get where I'm fucking going, and now you're telling me that I have to have this because you guys fought for me to get reparations?
Yeah.
I wasn't even around then.
Yeah. And you see, that's some of my beef as well, too. I'm happily living my life. I'm dealing with the things that I have to deal. I'm not an angry person. I'm
Yeah.
not facing racism on a daily basis. But I don't want you pushing your life onto me and telling me this is what I am to expect. And worse, telling
Yeah.
me this is what I'm experiencing. I'm not experiencing that. Why are you
No.
going to make the assumption that I'm experiencing that?
Yeah.
And then tell me this is how I should live my life or this is how I should be with, with white people.
Yeah.
And even that, not recently, but years ago, I would get a little bit of. I moved between two communities where I lived and then into the city where I had some other friends from university. I couldn't even talk about my white friends when I got together with my black friends.
No.
It's like, why are you hanging out with white people? That was
Yeah.
their thing. And it's like, but they're just people.
Yeah.
None of my white friends ever asked me, are you going into town to hang out with your black friends?
Yeah.
So again, we come back to this reverse racism. So you're not the racist. We're all racist.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who you are. If you don't like a group of people, it doesn't matter what your skin
Yeah.
color, you're going to chime up about it.
Yeah.
I had black friends who don't want anything to do with white people.
Yeah.
Isn't it Chris Rock who says he doesn't have any white friends? Yeah, I think it was.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, when money talks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got lots of white friends for crazy movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's been my experience. It's I just deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's subtle, and it does not always come from someone white.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, that woman who hit me, it was so clear. It does not always come from someone white.
Yeah.
It can come from anyone. That is just what they've been taught. That black people are this, black. I've heard so many things. We're dirty, we're smelly. I remember once in university screaming at a guy because I overheard him saying, I fucked this black girl and she smelled like piss and all this. Again, I just went crazy.
Yeah.
I stood up, I said,
Then again, maybe she did.
Well, yeah, well, that's-
Depending on
As
how
an
bad the party
individual.
was.
exactly.
As an
but-
individual, yeah.
but what I said to him is, why
Yeah.
do you have to say she was black? She could just
Yeah,
smell like
some
this.
chick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you? Because now, black girls smell like piss.
Yeah.
When you preface something like that, then it becomes the norm. If you say she smelled like piss, that's fine. But
Yeah.
now you're saying black.
Well,
Yeah.
and it kind of goes back to that whole Morgan Freeman statement there. You stop calling me a black man, I'll stop calling you a white man, and we'll just be Morgan and Bob.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. It's going to piss me off. I'm not going to sleep tonight. But
Morgan's the only important one anyway.
yeah, it really is.
He's not
But-
on my favorite list. He married his. Do you know who he married?
No.
Yeah, he moved off my list.
Yeah.
He married, I believe it's his, it's a relative, and was in mid-20s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wouldn't have bothered me that she was in her mid-20s, but there was a familial relationship going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
fell off my list right off the bat. I don't
Isn't
like
he
him.
like 500 years old anyways?
Yeah.
He's God.
She's in it for the money. But,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
as I said, like the whole, you stop calling me a black man, I'll stop calling you a white man, right? Now, I fully agree. Yeah, I was banging this chick, I was banging this dude, whatever. that's totally cool. You know, but you got a lot of these fucking snowflakes there where if there's a police report that goes out now, well, you can't say, well, it was a black man, you know, like, oh, you can't say it's a white man, you know, you can't do that. You know, a nondescript person did a nondescript thing, and, you know, like, there's times to go and say, okay, this person was black, this person was white. And you know what? I will always call myself white as opposed to I'm Caucasian. Why? First off, I can spell white. But, you know, let's face it, white, black, okay, brown.
Ask me the question of what I like to be called. I've heard everything from black to colored to
African American,
and that's
Canadian
sometimes American.
Confusion. Like right? Because I wanted to ask that question today. Like, what is the appropriate? Like again, in my mind, I'm thinking it depends on the individual.
You answer that question. What is the appropriate way to call me or describe me?
Deborah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
But for actual
when you're talking
description,
about a group,
you know, yeah,
As a group,
or a person that you don't have a name
Yeah.
for.
well, as you can see, I'm not black.
yeah,
If you're really going to go with what is,
Yeah.
I'm not black. Look at the
Yeah.
color difference. If you're going to say I'm brown, then people would think that I'm Indian or Pakistani or something.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you say people would call me colored, I go,
who's not?
yeah, what color?
Yeah.
What color am I?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, when I was in the Army in the field, putting on all the different campaign, I was plenty colored.
Yeah, you're camouflaged all over. So I don't know, because this brings me back to a very sensitive issue in high school. I wanted to join the high school newspaper. And the kid who ran the newspaper called me, and he says, I'll meet you at the resource center, but I don't know who you are. Could you describe yourself for me? I hung up the phone.
Yeah,
I could not describe myself as the black girl with the afro.
right.
I hung up the phone. I was that scared and that nervous. And those are
Right.
the things that made me start to search for my identity
Yeah.
and be proud of who I am and
Yeah.
what I look like.
Yeah.
I hung up the phone and I never joined the school newspaper
Yeah.
because of that one incident where he just asked me, who am I looking for? Could you describe yourself so I could find you?
Yeah.
I was too afraid to say that I was black.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like Nate's saying, you know, like, I'm going to say I'm white because, you know, I can spell white, you know, but, you know, like, you hear a lot of people in the black community going, no, I'm not black. I'm African American. You been to Africa? No.
Nope.
Okay. You know, so, like,
I have
that's
no-
the thing, you know, like,
My African lineage, we just did the ancestry,
yeah.
is below my Irish and Scottish. So what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
I'm African Canadian, or
Or you're Caucasian African.
yeah, I'm a melange. I'm
African
a mix,
Irish?
Yeah, I'm a mix, yeah, African Irish, Scottish. I'm a mix of everything. So
Well, and so am I, right? Like, I mean, you could take my blood, and I pretty much have everything there is going in me.
Yeah.
Right? I come from Viking lineage, so like
could
we
see that.
raped
That's-
and pillaged everywhere. We didn't discern ourselves with what race we were involved
Was it a
with.
hole? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So accordingly, you've got lineage all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what people don't realize. You look at someone, because their skin color is that, does not mean that that is them 100% at all.
Actually, I gotta tell you, I had a big laugh because there was this black lady that was on YouTube, and she's very, you know, I am black. This is this, you know, and you know, definitely had a hate on for white people, right? And it was funny because she went and she did her heritage thing, and I went and I watched the video. And here she is. She's opening up her results because she got her results. So she's going to do that live, you know,
Yeah, she's
thing right
hoping
there.
that I'm
She
all
opens it up,
black.
and she finds out she is so much white European. It's not even funny. She's like,
Yep.
and she was ready to off herself at that point in time because she found out that she was mostly white. You know,
Yep.
Oh my God, that reminds me. What was that movie? Hear No Evil, See No Evil, with
with
Where he's like, we're
Richard
blind-
Pryor
Richard
and
Pryor was
fucking
blind.
Yeah, it's blind.
and
Yeah.
his sister
Yeah.
said something about him being black. He's like, "What? I'm black? Does mom and dad know about this?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that was with Gene Wilder.
yes, Gene Wilder. That was his
Gene
name.
Wilder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you just don't know.
Yeah.
You can't. I remember I told you I had a couple black friends who called my kids half breeds.
Yeah.
So after this one girl called my kids half breed, I looked at her. I said, "Isn't your grandfather white?"
Yeah.
And she went, "Oh, yeah." I said,
Yeah.
That makes you somewhere right in there with the half breeds as well.
yeah.
And a lot of people, if you're of West Indian descent, you can almost be 100% guaranteed you're mixed with Scottish, Irish, Lebanese, Chinese.
Yeah.
You are mixed. Americans pretty much mixed with whites. That's about
Yeah.
it. Slave Jeffersons, you get all those names, all the slave owners.
Yeah.
So you just never know what you're going to get. I mean, you can't, even if you're looking for someone in Zimbabwe for that, and they're black as night, you run a DNA check on them, you just might find out that 500 years ago, that Viking who found his way to some very warm parts impregnated someone, and that
Yeah.
lineage is continuing.
Are we talking
Yeah.
about the country or in the warm parts? The warm parts we're talking about. I don't know. Anyways,
We could go with both.
okay.
All right. Well, you know what? This has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. I'm positive we could probably go on for another couple hours.
Amazing.
Easily, and I'm sure we're going to have Deborah back on. We've already talked to her about the diversity table that we're looking to do, where we're going to bring in a bunch of demographics, a bunch of different demographics to fit into our diversity table. And we're going to be going and posing different questions, and they're going to speak on behalf of their demographic as a representative of that demographic to answer some of these questions.
We could just get an UGG girl and she could speak on behalf of everybody.
Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Would make it easier.
That's going to be
You
a
know,
really easy
We
fucking
gotta make
diversity
our
table.
own category of these girls, you know.
Yes.
And,
Oh, and I'm sure we will.
yeah, I wonder what careers they get at the end of school.
Oh, let me tell you.
I really wonder what careers they choose.
Yeah. But anyways, as I said, we can go on with this conversation so much more. So thank you very much,
Thank
Deborah,
you.
for showing up,
Yes,
talking
thank
to us about this, and actually understanding who the fuck we are. So, folks, make sure you hit that subscribe and bell icon down below. Make sure that you follow us on our other platforms. And please, let your friends know, share this video with them, and invite them in on the conversation, because we're just starting the conversation. We need you guys to help us finish the conversation. So make sure you do all that there, and we'll see you again. Talk to you later.
Later.
Why are you so offended?